So yeah, so I had some stuff. I know you guys were talking about it the other day, but the whole James Gunn thing with DC, I thought was just crazy. Yeah, shut the fuck up. I don't know. I don't know why Marvel let him go over that whole thing, dude. It's the whole piece.
Oh, come on, it's Disney.
Mm-hmm.
It's Disney. He said some foul shit for years, like. But if you looked at his history and where he came from, the film house he originally was from, I forgot the name of it. I think it's like Trembolo or some shit. They were into some foul shit, anyways. So it was like like that. You remember the infomercials for like X-rated comedy video that would play late at night for? Remember that lady getting her head punted off in the wheelchair?
Yep.
Like
I remember that.
stupid shit like that. I would just say it's along the vein of that. Just like very like low, like tasteless, lowbrow comedy kind of shit.
But they knew that hiring him going into it, right?
Well, yeah. Here's the deal: is they knew of the tweets, they were aware of them. It's just that in everybody's mind though, it was like they, nobody was thinking about it or saying anything. I think it got mentioned when he got like hooked into Guardians, but like nobody made a big deal out of it. It's when the guy like started posting like the foul, like the bad ones, like the pedophilia ones.
I think
That everybody was like, "Oh shit!" And it's
Yeah,
like
I
now
mean-
that Disney owns Marvel, it's like they couldn't, even
Kid-
though they knew of it.
kid
Yeah,
stuff.
but
I mean, I get it, but it's like going into it. If they're okay with it, it's just because of the PC, social media, social justice warrior stuff that came about. I mean, some of the stuff he did say was pretty messed up, but at the same time, it's like they wouldn't have hired him if they thought it was a problem.
Well, they vetted him originally when they hired him.
hmm
Yeah, and they still hired him. And like he's even come out publicly and apologized for those tweets in the recent past. I think it was like 2009 or I don't remember when.
wasn't
it was.
around when one of the movies came out.
It might have been, and nothing happened then either. But it's like it takes some left wing douchebag to like make a collage of all of his previous tweets and then post it in like red highlighter everywhere for I don't know. Like I guess the backlash. Disney doesn't want any controversy,
No.
like any at all. So the second they see that, they're like, okay, you're gone. Like,
Which is funny because it's like this is the company that produced Songs of the South back in the day with
Yeah.
like the very racist like characters. They've done so much bullshit in the past, but I get it. Different time, yada yada. But you have to admit too, like, have you? Because I just thought of this. Do you think maybe it was just like seriously, like how fast the progressives have been trying to move? Like they're, I call it forced progressiveness, where they're trying to force like the instead of like going at a natural pace for like society. It's like it's not fast enough for them, so they're trying to expedite it with all their PC bullshit. So it's like, because even like when Guardians 1 came out, it was a different atmosphere than nowadays. It's like, I wonder if like seriously it's just because everybody just due to outrage culture that it was just like, oh, now that they are talking about it in this day and age, it's like, oh well, let's fucking shit can him.
well, and the other thing too, like DC just hired him, and like, where's the backlash to DC?
That's what I was gonna say. Like
The only reason he got fired is because it's Disney, because they don't
Right.
they don't want to associate with anything close to that.
Yeah.
DC's like, I don't care.
Well, and look, he is a moneymaker, and at the end of the day, it's a business, and they're all about making money. And those guys are more than willing to overlook, because they don't have that Disney, what to call it,
G-rated.
Yeah, they don't have to worry about that,
Yeah.
So they're like, whatever, fuck it, we're gonna get this guy. He's gonna make this movie. It's gonna make a fuck ton of money, and we're gonna be happy, and everybody's gonna make money.
Well, it just go. Well, I hate to say that some of his stuff he said wasn't messed up. It was, but like it just goes back to the whole freedom of speech thing. You can't really say anything no matter days without repercussions.
Well-
So like Marvel automatically saw that. Someone brought it back up, and it's like, whatever, you're gone. And that's what happens with every job nowadays. No matter what the political view is or whatever your point was. One
It's just-
person doesn't want to be associated to it or business. That's
And
what happens.
it's just like comedy nowadays. Like, you can't make a joke without, I'd hate to be a comedian in this day and age, but like, you can't make a joke without offending anybody. And I think the guy who made that tweet, like the collage tweet of all his previous tweets, I'm pretty sure it was like a white male. Like, it was, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
why is this guy outraged? Or, you know what I'm saying? It's like,
Because and he took it out of context too. Because in context,
Oh, yeah,
he even
they're
admitted
jokes.
He was trying to be
Shocking.
shock. It was like he was going for that, 4chan shock kind of humor where it's like, oh, we'll talk about raping kids or whatever, where it's like, is it funny? No. Is there a type of person out there that enjoys those jokes? Sure. But yeah, back to the free speech things. It's like, I don't care how bad the joke is. I don't care what you fucking say. If you're not inciting violence or like infringing on others' rights, it's like you should be able to say whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah, it just it goes back to when you're employed by a business that's private or public or whatever it is. They don't have to agree with anything you say, and boom, you're gone. Like it only applies. Freedom of speech only applies now in safe spaces like your house or people you're around. That's just the way it goes nowadays. Like you can't say anything without someone going out and you getting backlash for it. So I would hate to be, like Brand said, a comedian or even just an actor. Anybody that's famous nowadays, because you say one fucking wrong thing, you're literally, your life's over with. You're getting bullied from people on the internet and people you don't even know in the public for saying one thing that you might not even said out of context or something. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know. Why didn't he scrub the tweets? Like, why did he leave them up?
Like his publicist or someone go through there or somebody that
Literally,
owns social media.
there should be a job that should be part of like a publicist should have like maybe like an assistant or something that literally it's like when you take on a new client, it's like they do a deep dive on your social media and scrub it.
I'm pretty sure a lot of famous people now have people that run their social media, but I don't know if they do that stuff. But I'm sure
Yeah,
there's people
handlers and stuff so that
just
they don't
handhold all their
come
stuff.
out and
Yeah, I would do that in a heartbeat because God forbid, who knows, something I said 5 years ago is going to come back and haunt me.
Yeah, so after that happened, I saw the director of The Last Jedi, Rian Johnson. He went back and deleted a bunch of old tweets. I think everything prior to this year or something like that. And somebody noticed and they were like, "Hey, why'd you do that?" And he was like, I didn't have anything that I thought was questionable, but he's like, I just don't want anybody weaponizing my past against me. You know,
So true.
it's like
But
it's sad in a way that you can't leave that shit up, but also it's like I get it. This is the day and age we live in. It's like you don't need even like government like hand it down censorship. It's like the court of public opinion is like passing judgment.
It is.
Like with all that Me
and
Too
it's
bullshit.
with social media, it's like instant. Social media and the media and word of mouth, it's like instant judgment.
Because media's changed. They don't give a shit about doing any real like journalistic. There's no journalistic
There's no
integrity anymore.
investigating anymore.
Yeah, no, it's like literally. Do you know how many articles I've read in the past year where they source their shit from anonymous douchebags from Reddit or like like they're pulling tweets from Johnny USA whatever. It's like
Yeah.
who gives a shit what
Like,
these people think?
You'll see
Like,
something on popular on Reddit, and then you'll see like a news article made off of that Reddit
Yeah.
topic, like it's official.
yeah, journalism. I don't. It's dead. It really is. It's a joke and it's dead.
I just want to know who has the time to go back and look through someone's social media for like 4 or 5 years on all those tweets, posts, or anything, and makes a collage out of anything to make a point. It's like, get a life, dude. Like, what are you doing? You have this much free time. Like, you need more hobbies, or maybe that's just the way the social justice shit works nowadays. People look for anything to bash people about.
It is. They do. That's what they've always done.
I
They've
think-
always been about doxing.
I mean, you hear about what's it called? People on social media now. It's just like they look for anything they can, and as soon as they find something, the people come out of the woodworks to rally behind shit and just start hating on people, which is another thing I just don't understand
Well,
with this society.
Some of those interviews that you see with like the level-headed people that go to those gatherings where all the social justice warriors are like protesting or whatever, they like try to like interview them and actually have like a legit conversation. And like the second they get tripped up on like something
They start
logical,
screaming.
well, they don't know what to say. They just sit there and they're like, can you explain that, or can you elaborate on that? Or they'll give them a hard fact that like disputes exactly what they just said, and they're just like,
James Crowder does that all the time.
You know, it's like they never actually have any like valid points. You know,
You ever
it's like they
watch
just
it?
want to wave their arms around and say no.
Yeah, he goes to a lot of that stuff where people bash him or like want to say like they want to kill him and burn him or do whatever, and he goes to their protest or rally and confronts them. They have like no factual evidence, and they'll be like, "I didn't do that," and he'll have it on a big whiteboard, and like, and all their tweets are posted, and they're making a collage or whatever, and they still don't have anything. So what they do, they just stand there and start yelling and screaming at them and
Well,
rallying, and it's like,
Yeah, because at those rallies, they're just whipped up into a frenzy. They're not there for logic or to debate. They're there to wave signs and yell. And it's just like you can't go up to them and be like, hey, it's like you're kind of factually incorrect here because you see how that plays out. Because it's like, fuck you, read my sign. Kavanaugh, Kavanaugh.
God, those people are insane, dude. And I wouldn't even know why people would want to take their time out of their day to do that stuff. It's like, don't you have a job, family, friends, other things that are better to do?
I'm gonna low blow here real quick. You see a lot of those people protesting against him because they think he's gonna overturn Roe v. Wade, and it's like, excuse me, girls, I don't think you got to worry about getting abortions.
Right? Jesus.
You gotta get pregnant first.
I mean, some of those people you look at some of those rallies, it's like, where did they come from? And obviously, they're the people. There's another reason. They have another objective really out there, like you're just saying. Probably they're mad because they're not getting laid or getting pregnant. I don't know.
I think part of it too is just like they've seen how it works over the past 10 years, so like they know the game. You know, it's like they know if they do certain things that they'll get a reaction, or you know what I'm saying? Like they know how to play the system now, where it's like they can just bitch about shit just to bitch about it. It's
Well,
like
the other problem is that's what people report on nowadays. That's what people want to see is this drama-filled bullshit media type of stuff.
Yeah,
No one
outrage
wants-
culture.
Right, outrage culture. Exactly.
I saw that phrase, I think, from Joe Rogan.
It's true
is
though.
what-
It's a true
Yeah.
statement.
For
I mean,
sure.
that's just-
I like the phrase. It sums it up perfectly.
I don't know how they even began. I can't remember. Like he was saying how what was like the first thing of outrage culture, but now it's like it's
I think social media definitely pushed that forward
because now
you
they have
know?
a platform to speak on
Well,
that
it's like-
everybody's public and can see and read.
Well, I mean, even with because we've had the internet for a while, and like I don't remember it always being super PC on the internet. You know,
Was it?
That was just like the 2010s is when that shit started. It seems like, or like where it's got really bad.
Yeah, I mean,
But it just seems like social media is like what
And this is
pushed all
I
that.
felt like all that stuff was
and
underground
And this
at
is,
one point.
And this was the 1-2 combos because it's like, okay, social media changed. So now you have all these journalists that are fucking, picking out of social media to make these news articles. So then it's like you see these like Yahoo's garbage, by the way. But if you see any like half of Yahoo News is about reporting on like bullshit social media bullshit, and it's like. So it just feeds into itself, and you have this like cycle, and it's like, why is this stuff in the news again? And it's just like, this isn't news.
I will say, like the news does seem it leans heavy towards the left nowadays. Like
By far.
when I'm reading articles, like I can just tell by the headline if it's written by like a minority or like a female, just by like the implication in the headline. You know,
Well,
it's never like factual. It's always like pointing a finger at somebody.
and I mean, mainstream media is always skewed left, but they used to have some decency, and it's like nowadays though, it's just like
Blake.
you're a white male, you're evil,
Yeah.
you've for the past 100 years you've been keeping our people down, whether we're women, black, white, Asian, whatever. It's like fill in your minority here. You're white, you're scum of the earth. You've been keeping us down. Now it's time for us, and it's like, and they don't want equal. It's zero sum to them. They want to take away. To get ahead when it's like there's plenty of opportunity around. You don't have to take away.
My favorite.
It-
Sorry to interrupt you, but my favorite thing about the white male privilege thing is I just watched a thing about James Crowder, and he went and
Steve.
or Steve Crowder, sorry, and he went to a feminist rally about all kinds of shit, and he wanted to talk about white male privilege, and he brought it up, and they couldn't back up anything to say what do you guys not have for rights nowadays that white males and all these other people offer. They tried like saying crap about it. Everything they brought up, he had a rebuttal and was like, nope, that's wrong. You're wrong. This is just stuff you're making up to pretty much be the squeaky wheel and get loud and get no point across for whatever you guys are trying to do. So I feel like male privilege is it's one of those things that doesn't happen anymore. Like it's non-existent,
They're confusing it. They're confusing white males with being rich, and it's like we're not all rich. It's like, yeah, you want to come after some of that shit. I understand, but you're talking about rich people or upper class. It's like class warfare kind of shit. But they're trying to like pin it on like all white guys.
Yeah, we're talking about that. What was it? The last time we hung out, we were talking about what was it? In regards to that, something in the same vein. I can't remember now.
I don't know. I've ranted so much.
Was it
About
just about
this
white male
topic.
privilege in general, or just?
Yeah, something about that. Just like male privilege in general.
I think it's a lot of it stems from just people want to use it as a platform so they can get their point across for anything. Like, with all the microaggression type of stuff that happens in schools nowadays, or just pretty much anything, any work environment. I mean, people just want to blow it up and say, you're born white, you have a gold spoon or silver spoon in your mouth, and we automatically, are handed good jobs and money.
I remember what I was going to say now. Something like, and there's still something to say about, because when people argue like, oh, well, men aren't better than women at this or that, and it's like, well, they are, like there are certain things that men are better at than women, just in general. It's like, yeah, there's exceptions. There's always exceptions, like Ronda Rousey or the females that fight in the Army or the Navy or whatever it is.
I mean, for the most part, men and
But
women
in general, those are like male-dominated things. you know?
I mean, there is things males are more dominant than women. I mean, women have children, men don't. In this day and age, apparently they do now, but
Like, not saying females can't be CEOs or like high up in companies and like manage that type of stuff. But
I feel like it's pushed
just
more.
look at those major successful companies. How many females are actually up in the higher?
I feel like a lot of
positions,
stuff's pushed now, though. It's an agenda. Like, you get big, you get public, you have to have a diverse type of culture, because if you don't, you're looked at as being racist or having some type of, swayed opinion about anything. I don't know, just you're a
I'm just
bigot
saying
or
there's
something.
there's still a science to some of that. Like, for people to argue that and say that there's not,
And it's funny you say that, because I was going to lead into just to sum it up. There's hard truths out there that people don't want to admit. In that it's like, look, we're different. Like testosterone to estrogen. We have more. We each have both. It's just that we pump more testosterone, women pump more estrogen. So those different hormones just lead to different. We're literally different. It's like we're never going to be equal. Women are better at certain things than men, and men are better at certain things than women. They complement each other, and it's just like to belittle like that. I think it's stupid to try to be like, oh, anything you can do, I can do. It's like, that's great, because like back to your point, the exceptions, Ronda Rousey, Serena Williams. It's like, yeah, she kicked my ass at tennis, of course, but it's just like, but yeah, it's like, I just hate when these people. And same thing with diversity. They act like it's a bad thing, and it's just like America's strength has always been diversity, and just like the pool that we draw from. It's like, why do you think America's so great? Is because we draw from like the world's best. Like, seriously, like people come over here from India and China and yada yada to go to our schools and end up being doctors here and shit.
Yeah.
And it's just like, think about that. It's like, how come? Because it's great over here.
They want to say, a lot of people don't like America, and they want to say that America is not the greatest place to come, but it's like, then why does everybody come here? You know what I'm saying? Like, I know our education isn't as great as like China or Europe or something like that, depending on like statistics of being in school, but it's like, then why do all those people want to migrate to America? It's because the opportunity here is better.
Right, but I kind of got off the rails. Back to the point, though, is like, look, there's the hard truth is, it's like we're different, and it's like we should be celebrating those differences, not trying to be like, oh, women are just can do just as much as men or yada yada, and because it's like, it's true. It's like, no one's arguing that, but it's just like, to say that we're biologically the same. That's not true. We're different.
I just hate the phrase toxic male masculinity. That's like,
because when you boil that down, all masculinity to them is toxic.
Yeah.
They start off. They always start off by saying, though, there's a certain level of toxic masculinity. But when you seriously sit down and listen to those people talk long enough, to them, all masculinity is toxic.
I mean, that's pretty much true, though. I mean, not true in that point, but that's. Their minds are set on that, so like there's no swaying it or changing it, right? Going into those conversations with those people, they automatically believe that everything about male.
I'm tired of this toxic female femininity.
Yeah. Toxic femininity. Goddamn, third wave feminism's all toxic femininity. I can't say that word. Jiminy criminy femininity.
I mean, to sum up what we're talking about, though, it's like men.
I hate women. I'm a white guy.
It's men and women are the equality is there now. Like, they have all equal opportunities as men do. There's nothing different. There's still things that men and women differ in, but the quality is still there for women. Like, they have every opportunity.
You want to look at statistics. I don't have any in front of me to quote, but it's just like, look, the two off the top of my head are, it's just like there currently are more, chicks going to post-secondary school than there are men, and there's a higher suicide rate among men. So it's just like, right there's two facts that they don't like preaching about when they're talking about like, oh, we need to make as much as yada yada or whatever bullshit issue
that's
they're
still
on about.
That's still a huge topic too. People still think that there's some thing where men still make more than women. It's like, no, it's just the jobs they choose is why they make more money, right? Because they're in a more specialized field than women. Most women aren't going in to be a carpenter and be a union worker doing iron shit. Most women aren't going into IT. IT is a specialized field. So you could have a doctorate degree and go be an inside sales rep at any company you want, but most people that go into IT fields that are considered specialized, you're going to make more money. That's just the way the world works nowadays.
And you can't sit there in the next decade, you can't sit there too and say like they didn't have like the same opportunity, because nowadays how many specialized programs are there for minorities and women to get into like specifically the IT field, learn how to like, you know, code like just for women.
Well, like when you see like affirmative action and just in like the smallest, simplest thing like marketing, you know, it's like how many times have you seen a poster where it's like they have one black person in there, one Chinese person in there, or one Asian person? You know what I'm saying? Like,
And somebody's always in a wheelchair.
and try and make it look diverse. And I guarantee the same thing happens with hiring, whether hiring managers and companies want to admit it or not. I guarantee people get hired just because they're black. Like, oh, well, our office is very white. We probably should hire a black person. Well, this white person has better creds, and you know they're probably better for the position. Well, let's go with a black person because we need a black person in the office. Like,
I mean, that probably happens more than we know nowadays because that's just the way the world works. I mean, that's what we were talking about earlier. You can see it. Any business nowadays, that's the platform it has to be. If you want people to respect your company and people to like to be like happy about it, that's what people want to see in the company. You know, I hate to say it, but every company and any of my friends that go to work in any business now, you see it everywhere.
I feel like there's shitheads in every race and every gender. You know, it's like don't hire him because he's black. You know, it's like if you have a better candidate and they're white, then do what's best for the company. Don't hire a black person because you know just because you think you have to.
Yeah.
Because I mean, look, yeah,
I
regardless
think
of
it's worse in
your
schools,
race, there's plenty of qualified, you know, overqualified people of color of every race. It's just like you just got to find them.
Yeah.
That's it.
I mean, the world's so big. There's, like he said, there's bad people in every diverse and race, and then you know people want to ruin it for one person. It's it's a joke, but all I'm saying is like I don't feel like nowadays if you had a business, I would still go off the old platforms like hire the best people for the job. That's it. Like you don't have to do that because like it happens in schools a lot, right? Like especially in these Ivy League schools now with affirmative action. They'll get people in from different diversities in these schools that don't belong there, and then they fail out, and then they blame the school, and then it's the school's fault. And it's like, no, you shouldn't have been there in the first place. You didn't qualify. There should have been someone else that should have been in that position. It's like that. Don't force yourself into something that you don't belong into. It's like, for example, in around our school district, I don't know if you guys heard this on the news not too long ago, but some kid thought he belonged on JV or varsity in baseball or football or something like that at one of our private schools. They went to the courts. The courts laughed and said, "Your kid does not deserve to be in this JV or varsity. He's going to hurt the team." It's like he has to earn his spot. You have to earn your spot in everywhere in a lot of places. I don't believe with that bullshit. There's more. There's
They
more
really
that
thought that it was like a racial issue.
No,
keeping him down.
Not even just a racial issue. They thought
Oh, it was just that he deserves.
he was privileged. Like participation.
Yeah, okay.
I deserve to be on JV and varsity. I'm a senior, and it's like no. Just because you're a senior and stuff, you're not good enough to be in the team. Why would you hurt the others in the team and do that? It's like, you should know if you're good enough to play in a sport or not. Like, right? I knew I sucked at soccer. I'm not going to try out for JV or varsity soccer. I went and played hockey because that's what I was good at. It's kind of apparent when you're 16 or 17 years old.
And some people just don't have that kind of self-awareness. Like, just look at the singers on American Idol, for example.
Yeah,
they think they're great. They think they're amazing.
Well, that's because
I think I'm amazing when I'm singing in the shower.
Yeah.
Like, why can't I get a record deal? I'm amazing.
Yeah.
They in their own head they think they're good, and it takes like 3 people to be like, no, you're not.
That's and that's the
What are you
affirmative
doing?
action movement I was kind of just explaining. It's getting worse in schools about that kind of stuff too. You hear about it all the time. I just thought that was funny in the local news. I heard, or newspaper, not newspaper, but
God, can you imagine being in high school nowadays? Or
No,
or
holy
college?
shit.
I'm scared for my kid going to school.
I
What's going
wouldn't.
to happen?
No, but in this day and age, I wouldn't have gone to college. Like seriously, these colleges are a joke now.
Well, it's just it's all the liberal PC bullshit. It's getting put into school. Participation stuff. My kid deserves to be in this, whatever.
I just think it's so funny.
Just too
'cause
much
it's
politics.
Like, I used to be such a hardcore liberal. Like, I voted for Obama twice. Like, and, I voted for Claire McCaskill. And I was just like, if they had a D by their name, I was a cheerleader. But it was like, you know, it just started opening my eyes when it was just like, what I really started noticing was how the news treated Barack Obama. And I'm not just saying this because the news is such a topic nowadays, but literally, I remember sitting there thinking, it's just like, this dude is, you know, ordering drone strikes that are killing children in Syria, but they're just glossing over it to show him landing in China with his wife and waving. And, you know, they were just glossing over all of his bullshit. Another thing they never emphasize is like the Obama administration prosecuted more whistleblowers than any other presidential administration ever. And it's just like, they're the ones who started vilifying whistleblowers. And it's just like, I don't know. To me, the guy's, he's not, I don't want to go as far as say he's like evil or whatever, but he's a bad guy. He's not a good guy.
Right.
Barack Obama.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, so that was the beginning of the end of liberalism for me. But what sealed the deal is when they started, like, seriously, after the Ferguson shit, and they just started coming after white people wholesale. And it's just like, I'm sorry, I don't feel white guilt. I didn't directly do anything to, you know, contribute to any perceived slights that you have for anything. So it's like, I'm not just going to sit there like some of these douchebags who like, oh, you know, like just because white people, white Anglo-Saxon Protestants back in the 1700s owned slaves, so like I should feel guilty. It's like my ancestors came over on potato boats during the potato famine in Ireland. We were not slave owning. Like I come from my heritage is literally we've been workers like our whole lives. Like no one's been, you know, high off the hog or rich or whatever. It's like we've literally been working generation after generation. So it's like remind me again about why I need to feel guilty and why you're coming after me nowadays when they're the ones that emphasize from the beginning. It's like you can't hold color of skin, you know, or like something you're born with. You can't hold that against people. Unless you're white, then you can go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
So that's what
The double
after that
standard
shit,
is insane.
Yeah, so that's what really sealed the deal. And I voted for Gary Johnson. I wasn't ready to vote for Trump, but I definitely wasn't going to vote for the fucking Democrat Hillary. I was just I went libertarian.
With this next election coming up, it's going to be crazy. Like it's going to be one of the biggest elections we've ever, at least in our generation. I think it's going to be one of the biggest ones we've ever seen. Just with I'm voting anti-liberal all the way. Like, I'm not voting Democrat. I don't care if people don't agree with me or not, but I just don't want to see that PC shit get into the office, because if it does, the entire world is going to change even more. And I'm not ready for that, and I want my kid growing up in that. I don't know if you guys feel that way too, but I just feel like it's going to be more of an agenda than it is nowadays. It's just going to be more leftist bullshit getting pushed everywhere, and it's just going to be something I don't want to be part of.
Nope.
What other topics you got?
Yeah, I know.
Anyways,
yeah.
so
I'm just over the whole PC shit. I can't
yeah.
I know it's hard to talk.
It's just frustrating because it's like there's nothing you could do or say. You know, it's like you just gotta grin and bear it.
You just gotta roll with the punches and take it.
I mean, yeah, you
want
want
to offend anybody.
What do you want to get a rally together? They'd call us the next like Hitler Youth.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you literally can't. We're stunted in our responses because it's inherently going to be racist if you get more than a couple white people together.
I did see an article the other day that Ben Affleck's not playing Batman, so he backed out of playing Batman.
I saw he went to rehab, and they were saying he's not going to be Batman. Then he got out of rehab, and they were saying that he might still be, but I don't know if he is or
I
not.
read some article, I think it was yesterday, it said he's still not considered being Batman.
Because Henry Cavill's out, right?
Yeah,
too,
Henry
right?
Cavill's out of
Yeah,
Superman.
yeah, I heard
And they
that.
want to put
Batman.
Michael B. Jordan in this Superman. I'm sorry,
Dude, if-
Michael B. Jordan is not fucking Superman. And if you put him in there, DC, it's going to be the worst decision they made. All the black people will
I hope
love
they
it.
do.
You think it'll be good?
Well, no, I don't think it'll be good, but I hope they do.
They're just going to bomb.
Just because it'll be shit, and it'll make Killmonger look even shittier.
Yeah.
Man, best villain
Best
of
Marvel
Marvel. I mean, better than Thanos. Like, but look, here's
Did
my
he win-
whole.
Did he win that better?
No, that's what
Okay.
people are saying. But here's my
All right.
whole gripe, and then I'm going to end it on this, and I got nothing else to say. Is that why do you have to ride on the backs of already created content? Because here I'm coming from it. Like, look, I love new content. I love new stuff. I just don't feel like why you need to make a She-Hulk or you need to make Spider-Man Black. Why you need to rehash? And in a way, I get it because those are big names. And it's going to draw more people than if you try to start a low level, like whatever. But point being is, it's just like it's like instead of making James Bond black. It's like, why not make a spy movie with a black lead actor?
Yeah.
That would be
Do
just as
something
cool
original.
and badass. Like, because I would watch that still.
mean something
Because I
new-
love the
you mean
genre. Something
new
new.
and creative?
Yeah, surprise. Something
Right.
new. Instead of having to co-opt, James Bond to be black or
Why-
like Superman to be
Well, there was-
black. It's like,
there was
make
an
a new black superhero.
There was an article recently about Bond where people were asking the like executive producer or whoever has like whoever owns the main rights for the Bond franchise. They were asking if there was ever going to be a female Bond, and he said no. He's like, Bond
That makes no sense.
He said Bond's always identified as a male. He's like, and that's what he said too. He said if we want like more interesting female characters, we should have new interesting female characters.
See, that's what I don't get.
not
Why
just make Bond a female, you know? Because
why don't people go out of their way to make new stuff? It's like that. People want new content. Movie buffs want to see new shit. I don't want to see the same thing rehashed 20 times. I don't want to see Spider-Man played by fucking 40 different people. Batman, Superman, any of these people. I want to see new characters with new content and new shit that makes it interesting.
I hope the remake trend dies down a little bit. Like,
Yeah, they're rebooting so fast nowadays. They
Well-
did not used to reboot this fast, I want to say.
well,
Like,
I wonder if they're doing it as like a generational thing because they know like, oh, well, Transformers was successful when, or you know, I'm just using that as an example. It's probably not the good one, but that was successful when these parents were kids, and now those parents' kids they could get involved in that franchise too. So it's like, I don't know if it's a generational thing, and so they know that they can like get money out of it, you know, because like. When those kids are parents and they have kids, are they going to reboot Transformers again?
I
You know
think
what I'm
it's.
saying?
I
Like,
think the other thing
it's
is,
gonna be nonstop.
Sam brought this up. I think one time we talked about movies. It's a quick flip for them to make a quick buck, and they're not worried about the content or whatever. They're just like get in, get the money, and get out. Like that's all they care about nowadays with a lot of movies. And it's like nobody.
Well, I will say, like, nostalgia in general is very strong. It's like a very strong, like, emotion or like
'Cause
thing
people
to
have
go
attachments
after.
to shit.
Yeah, because you have nostalgia for it. It's like, oh, it's back, or you know, it's like I used to love that when I was little. And it's like there's an instant attachment when something's new. It's like you have to bank on whether they're gonna like it or not. Then you
Yeah.
have to like put all this marketing out there, like.
Could you imagine someone
but
trying
that's
to?
the thing, though. Sorry, but look, they need to take more risks. They're not
I
taking
agree.
risks. They've
Yeah.
gotten
Agree.
comfortable because they want tent poles, they want franchises, they want expanded universes because they know like it makes guaranteed money. But like with Hollywood accounting, I think it's fucked shit up so much nowadays, where it's just like the only people taking risks are the indie movies or like the lower budget or Netflix. Actually, I'll give it to Netflix is. They make new shit. They make more new content than the movie studios
They do.
nowadays.
They really do.
Netflix is like Pollock. He's just like throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks.
right? Amazon,
much,
you know,
dude.
Amazon's doing it
Yeah.
too. You know, Amazon's doing it.
Thank you
and
for
Hulu.
calling Netflix. You've been greenlit.
I think that's you make a good point, but at the same time, these people that aren't taking risks, they're taking a risk that their content's gonna be good, and people are going to bank on watching this shit over and over again with new generations. It's like that doesn't always going to be something that's going to be set in stone. Not everybody wants to see this shit.
But it's crazy that it's like, look, like at this point, like Sony's flopped so many times on their superhero movies. It's like, when are you guys gonna get it? It's like, why don't you stop and just go for a new direction? Like,
If they were smart, they would have sold all of their comic book rights to Marvel for like a percentage, like not even just like a one-time sale. It
yeah,
would have been like
let me, yeah.
20 mil plus 10% of all the movies that involve these characters going forward. You know?
Right.
It's like that way you don't have to worry about production. You don't have to worry about any of that. It's in Marvel's hands. You know Marvel's going to do it right. Clearly Sony and DC and Fox, they can't do it right. You know,
God,
the
they
only
can't.
thing that any of them have done right, relatively right, is the X-Men.
Yes,
It's been pretty
I'm
successful,
pretty psyched for
and
the
some
new
of them
movie,
are pretty
too.
good. But
Dark Phoenix. I
Yeah,
think
it
is
looks
gonna-
really
I haven't
good.
seen the trailer, but I love the Dark Phoenix saga. I remember watching that
Do you think
on the
Di-
cartoon as a kid.
dude, I can't wait
It
to
was-
see
Are
them.
they hinting that Disney's going to take that over? I think
Oh,
you said.
yeah, they already said they were.
Yeah, I mean, once they take it over, it's just going to.
They're estimating that the deal's going to go through at the beginning of the year, so they'll probably like, if they're not already, they're going to probably start like the pre-production and like all the art development.
I
for,
wouldn't be
like-
surprised in like.
They're going to
5
introduce the Fantastic Four, X-Men.
I wouldn't be surprised if they start owning pretty much everything with movies, content, and stuff that gets created. I mean, they just keep owning more and
It's
more.
gonna
shit.
come down. I think Disney versus Netflix eventually.
You think so?
Well,
And
once,
Amazon, I think, will be a big player just because it's Amazon's. It's the biggest company ever.
Yeah.
Now.
once Disney gets their streaming service going,
I can't wait to see what happens with all that shit. I mean,
they're going to have like original content. You know, they're going to have like that Loki and Scarlet Witch show.
You know what's funny is they don't have rights to because they sold rights to Netflix for Marvel movies.
I
They're
saw
not getting
that.
rights back for a few more years. Was it 2022?
I saw that. Yeah.
So yeah, even after they start their streaming service, they won't be able to add certain things to it
Dude,
that
but
they,
Disney
that
has
they made.
Disney has so much content for kids. It's in
Oh,
adults.
that hasn't been. Yeah, no, you remember the Disney Channel? Like,
Yeah.
come on,
So,
like how much
oh,
shit they pumped out.
They
That's
already
just
said they're
sitting in
bringing
the
back
vault.
Shows and
their TV
movies.
shows from like when we were kids,
Animated
and then
movies.
all the animated movies and the original animated movies that from the 90s and 80s and whatever shit. So like all that's combined.
But did you guys have Disney Channel growing up?
Yeah.
Do you remember those? Like, there's a new made-for-TV Disney movie every month. You remember Smart House?
Smart House.
Yeah, Smart House.
Yeah,
love
that I will never forget that one.
That was good.
I always wanted a Smart House after that. That was actually voiced. Yeah, the house was Kathy Segal.
Steven's wife.
Yeah. She played Leela's voice in Futurama. She played Al Bundy's wife.
Oh, okay.
yeah, yeah.
I know who you're talking about.
Crazy fire redhead.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she was the Smart House voice.
Yeah,
I remember. They had like a like one entire wall was just a video panel. Like you wake up and it's like whatever you wanted it to be.
Dude, that's awesome.
That was a cool house.
Yeah, I did also see something recently when I was reading too was that movie that came out Gotti with John Travolta in it. Because now this is pretty comical. Like they said they thought he'd be a good actor and a good part of this role. But you ever watch a John Travolta movie? He's like the guy that is always like really like formal. Like he doesn't cuss or do anything. And he says like
Oh my god!
he says like F word like every 3 minutes. They said it was the worst movie they've ever seen. Like and this. How did they get to him as a character, as the main person for John Gotti? It was just atrocious. Like,
That's what I heard too.
Did you guys see the O.J. Simpson story with
No, I
Cuba
never
Gooding?
saw
oh yeah, that was so
Because
good.
he was in that and he played one of the lawyers, and I'll give it to him. He actually did a good job. And I just bring that up because I feel like he's been a stinker for a couple, years now.
Dude, that's
back when, like in the '90s, he was like hot, man. Like
That's
he
a
did a
good
lot of
point.
good shit.
That
Yeah.
dude made so much money. Like we were talking about, like he's got his own airplane and airport at his fucking house. Like you gotta have a lot of money and dough to be putting that kind of shit in. And like I'm saying, like, all the original movies made, like in Grease and all that stuff. It's like that movie still watched.
Sandy, like oh my god.
But yeah, he hasn't done a good movie. I can't really rename the last time. Like maybe he said with that TV show with O.J. Simpson.
He did a good job in it.
But I haven't
I'll
seen
give
him.
that.
I haven't seen him in a good movie in a long time.
I just remember how douchey he was in Swordfish.
Swordfish, Battlefield Earth.
Yeah,
Battlefield
It was
Earth,
so fucking
written
bad.
by L. Ron Hubbard.
God.
was it?
Yeah, it was.
Oh my god. Oh my gosh.
Oh my god.
But yeah, that was pretty good. And then I saw there's this new TV show coming on Netflix, and they're trying to postpone it. All the feminists and people that are the people that are really into fat shaming and shit. So what it is, it's
Oh,
called.
I think I heard about that. The little fat girl.
Yeah, it's what is it? It's Sustainable or it's something like that.
It's about like a teenage girl who's like
Yeah.
overweight.
Yeah. So what it is, she goes to
Small
high
her
school. She's fat. Everybody calls her like Fatty Patty at school or whatever. Like just bullying her and shit. And she gets like in a car accident or something like that. I didn't really. They don't explain what happens, but she gets her mouth wired shut, so she can't eat anything for a certain amount of months until her jaw's fixed. Well, she comes back and she's super hot, and because she's skinny because she lost a bunch of weight, and now she's the popular girl in school, and she's like making a decision like, who do I hang out with? What clique do I go to? Like the pretty like girls, or do I go hang out with like the jock guys or whatever groups? You know how there's cliques in high school, and people are protesting because they're like, we shouldn't want to put out there that kids, that's what kids should be want to do is like lose weight and be like skinny in high school. Or and some guy was like, yeah, that's what we should promote. We don't want kids being fat and overweight and like are having diabetes in school. It's like people do get made fun of their weight in high school. It's like, were you not a kid? Like it's not putting a bad message out there. And all the people that are really, people that are in the fat shaming shit are
They just
really,
need to hang in there for the twist ending because it ends up all being a dream and she wakes up still fat.
Yeah, right. So it looks like a teenager show, of course. The grab,
Well, if they made a show about kid suicide, whatever, let's do one about bullying.
They already did one
whatever.
about kid
Yeah, that's what I'm
suicide,
saying. 13 Reasons Why.
yeah, and people are protesting that show. Their show doesn't really look that bad. It looks
Which
pretty
explained
innocent.
to me, and I'd never seen it, but okay.
I've seen some of it.
How did you even squeeze a season 2 out of that? Like, just the premise that I got from the show, from what I read. It's
have you
like,
ever
how
se-
the fuck did you get
have
a
you ever
season 2 out of it?
Have you ever seen anything with like Pretty Little Liars? And they've squeezed like 20 episodes or 20 seasons out of that thing about somebody chasing somebody that killed their friend or something, and they're doing like mischief stuff to like, you know, plan them and like hurt them in their own town. It's the same thing. Like her friend kills herself and commits suicide, and she writes 13 tapes to 13 people why she committed suicide, and then from there there's a huge like trail, and he's found her best friend, this dude, which they're like liked each other or whatever. He tried to follow it, and then he finds out there's more shit that she didn't tell him. So it's like a continued
Season 2, more shit I didn't tell you.
Yeah.
13 more reasons why I killed myself. Here's the second box of tapes. It's like, God damn, you really thought about this.
Yeah, it was. Only reason I watched it is because my wife watched it, and my wife, and it wasn't really that good. I don't think it was really that good. I don't think it was more of a woman type show, and when women like something, it becomes really, you know, one of those things that, you know, craze. I don't know.
13 reasons why should I watch this show?
Yeah.
Have you guys have you heard of The Handmaid's Tale? Have you watched that or heard of it?
I've heard of it.
I've
Yeah, I heard
I'm
it's-
not,
I heard it's
I will
so-
never watch it.
Yeah, I heard it's crazy, like super, like messed up.
What's it about?
Women have no rights in the future.
Yeah, it's like
they get fucked by rich guys.
Yeah, they're basically like, what's the word?
In servants, indentured servants.
No, it's like when you have someone else have your baby
Surrogates?
for you. Surrogate. They're basically surrogate mothers.
But aren't they in like a position to where it's like they either have to
Or they die, or
or some reason or
Whoever thought that was a good idea?
and they all
was,
and that's those are the and they all wear red and the white hats and
that definitely doesn't sound like a good idea.
Sounds like-
in 2018.
sounds like The Hills Have Eyes too. With the mutants like impregnating the women.
God, it's disgusting. It was a good movie, but still really warped and fucked up. Yeah, so that was something I just saw on Netflix. I think they're still releasing it, but we'll see what happens. I'm sure there's gonna be a huge outlash as soon as it comes
okay,
out.
we're talking about Netflix. You know, they release what Dear White People. Like, how much shit have they released? Where it's like, you know, it's like just release it. Who gives a shit?
I mean, I don't think any amount of controversy is going to stop Netflix from releasing anything. You know, like they're pretty. I think. Well, and they have the reputation. Like they'll just put whatever out. It doesn't. That shouldn't matter. You know, and it shouldn't for other companies too. Like good for Netflix. I
Yeah.
hope they do release it.
I do
Because
too.
if it was Disney, they probably would have buckled. You know,
Yeah, in a heartbeat, they would have backed out and said, "Nope, we're not doing this."
all
I
the
mean,
outrage. Let's cancel the
they
show.
did it with Star Wars after all the fanboys backed out. I mean, I do agree with some of the stuff they did, whatever they back out, but it's like we're backing out to make sure we do it the right way, which is I agree, but it's like that's what happens nowadays.
You're not supposed to negotiate with terrorists.
Dude,
What, you mean-
yeah,
you
that
mean
whole thing
Reddit?
with Kelly Tran from The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Like, I guess she got abused on Twitter or whatever.
so did she
and
shut
I
down
just
her
want
Twitter?
to. I just want to clarify. They weren't coming after her. They were coming after her character, and she just took it personally.
even so, like, even if they were coming after her, like, get some thick skin. Like, who gives a shit what like Steve from Ohio says about your performance?
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like,
Right.
who cares?
I mean, couldn't you do this thing too? It's where you just not look at Twitter or just deactivate your Twitter if you don't want to follow and listen to that bullshit. I mean, that's what I do. And like, if I go online and I want to talk shit to some person from Chicago because the Blackhawks suck dick, I mean, I don't sit there and listen.
Disable comments for the
Right.
love of God.
I don't
Come
listen.
on.
I say my piece and then I leave, and I don't listen to anybody else's comments if
Did
I
you-
really want to do that.
did you see that Joe Rogan with Roseanne? Did you
Dude,
watch
it was
that yet?
really good.
Some
I
of it-
watched a clip of it. I didn't see the whole thing.
Some of it was pretty good. I didn't watch the whole thing either. I think I watched like.
she seems kind of out there.
Well, let's say she's
does.
got some mental issues, right? She's got some problems, but at the same time, she said some really opening line stuff, which I think people are aware of. This they just didn't believe Roseanne about. But it's like when she started the new show, The Connors, like who picked up that series, ABC or whoever the fucking picked it up, NBC or whatever. They told her, it's like, we don't want you tweeting or saying anything because you say some outlandish shit online. She's like, okay, well, wasn't in writing. So she never signed the contract saying she couldn't do this, but she said she wouldn't do it. Well, of course, she took Ambien, got drunk, and said something to some person she assumed who was white and not black, and she pretty much lost her show over it. And now they're still doing the show called, or not Roseanne, it was called, I'm sorry, Roseanne. Now they're doing the show called The Connors.
Yeah.
Right, without her, it's like,
They're writing her out. I think
there
they're
is no
killing her
show
off
without
or-
Roseanne, you know? It's like
Yeah.
taking John Goodman out of the show.
Well, she was saying that like she was pretty pissed off at that because she said that the show was about her life, you know, and it's like it's like her writing. It was like her writing in the past and like her jokes. It was about her family. So they think that like she thinks that it's like them stealing her like intellectual property in some regard, and it may be. But the one thing that she said that I thought was pretty cool was that they said they wouldn't have signed off on this show if she said no. Like she had to say okay for them to do that, and she said she did because Joe Rogan's like, why why didn't you say no? She's like, well, she's like I've always been a big advocate for like people having the right to work and like being able to work doing what they love and da 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 da. She's like, I can't say no and like have 200 people lose their jobs over
Right,
me.
because
that's pretty
people,
good.
I think people forget it's like it's not just about John Goodman or like the actors. It's like the whole
The cast, the
production.
crew, yeah.
Yeah, the whole crew. That's a lot of
Well, that
people
shows she's a good-
that they're getting work.
Well, it shows she's a good person, and she apologized like anything. It's like if you go out
She
there,
said it was political, not racial. Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
I don't
know
get
if
it.
it was or not, but
You
But
know.
but it's like no one, you know, and I guess it's like it's a good question. When, like, okay, because I'll branch out the question because even greater. It's like when is an apology acceptable? As far as like, look, like, because you saw Chris Brown beat the shit out of Rihanna, but look how fast he rebounded.
Mm-hmm.
But how long are they going to crucify Louis? And how long are they going to crucify some of these people?
Yeah.
And will their apology ever be acceptable? When it's like, but it's like, no, Chris Brown beat the shit out of Rihanna, but he's still back. He was dancing at the Grammys next year. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, you kidding me?
Well, there was no Me Too movement back then, so now with
That's true.
So
there
now-
has literally, you know, but look, if he even did that same thing again today, what point I'm getting at? Do you think he would get the same backlash?
yes, I think he would.
You really do? Because
Nowadays, I
I think he
do.
would get a little bit of leeway for being black, even though he's a guy. I think
Well,
it's just because he's a person of color. You get
I
a
think
little bit
so,
more
but I
leeway.
think there's more of
Yeah,
these
if he was
people
white.
stomping and marching nowadays for it, you know. But yeah, you're probably true. That's probably a true statement. I can't really disagree with that. But at the same time, I think there'd be stronger bullshit happen nowadays than there would be two or 3 years ago, just because the movements are different now. So.
But even that though, people change. But it's like, you know, like, but like, how long are we supposed to punish these people before they're allowed to? Because I know Louis just did like a low key
I heard
stand up
about
set, and that like made a lot of people upset. But it was like he literally wasn't playing; he just got on, did a little set.
well, it's
and-
like if you don't like the show, leave. You know, I'm sure there's
Right.
still people that want to see him,
Dude, did you know how many people?
and that's his job. I mean, he can't just not do what he's done his whole life. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
well, same thing with Roseanne. Like,
Did you
it
know she
sucks
was
that
a
the
stand-
company folded under the pressure? You know,
Did
They-
you know
they
she was
should
a
have just-
stand-up comedian?
Yeah.
I never knew that. I
Yeah.
never knew that Roseanne was a stand-up comedian. Apparently, she was really good. Joe Rogan said when they're younger, like she was funnier and shit. Like going like to those comedy shows like, where all the comedians go to like to hash things out and like spit the material to get their feedback or whatever. So apparently, she said was like an icon of doing that kind of stuff, like just making up material.
dude, Whoopi Goldberg was a stand up comedian.
I did know that. I did not know that Roseanne was, but I can see it now. Like she's not a bad actress or whatever, and I heard she is really funny. But I think, yeah, what Brian was saying, it's like nobody wants to go watch Roseanne without Roseanne. The show is about her. Like so, like if you're worried about ratings,
Think about those other characters. If you've ever seen the show Roseanne, and I haven't seen the new one, but the old show, it's like
I watched the new one. It was
like,
good.
right? But it's like, what is that show? Like, what's gonna ground that show without her? Like, what's gonna be the like weekly draw? Like,
They're
what?
gonna make her die or something. Like oh,
But
mom
it's just
died.
like, you know, all I'm saying is it's just going to turn into another cookie cutter sitcom. It might as well be.
It's not gonna- it's not gonna get-
another.
It's not going to make anything. Like it's yeah, she's going to keep people getting their jobs, but then the day no one's going to watch the damn show as much as they would if
It's
she
like,
was in it.
it's like if you took the show Seinfeld, took Jerry out of it, and called it the guys that hung out with Jerry, you know, and then like
Yeah, Kramer.
what would be the
Right?
It wouldn't be the same. It's not going to be the same. I hope it bombs. Honestly,
I do too, you know, because it's retarded. Like Brandon said, I think the perfect way to point it out is like, if she was still in the show, there's gonna be a lot of people who are like, I ain't watching it because Roseanne made this racist comment or whatever, and you know, Wanda Sykes was like, I'm out of this show, whatever, because of Roseanne made that stupid tweet, whatever. It's like, go fuck yourself, Wanda Sykes. You know who Roseanne is.
Why
you
is
know,
why is Wanda Sykes even still culturally relevant?
I don't know.
Because she's a black lesbian.
Like, why does anyone give a shit what she says?
I don't
right,
know.
though, right? Like,
I've
what
never-
have you done lately?
I've never found her funny or remotely like even a good actress. So let's just put that out there for my opinion. But yeah, I think that they should still march on with Roseanne. They still get a lot of people to watch it. You still get the people who don't want to watch it. You're gonna find that with anything nowadays, though, right? So I don't know if she didn't come out and apologize and say yeah and own up to it. That'd be a different story. But she said that the moment she made that tweet, the next morning they're like, yeah, you're fired. You know, and her publicist was like, "Why'd you do this?" And she's like, "I don't remember even doing it."
The minute companies started folding under the pressure of the social justice warriors, that's when they started to lose. Because now it's like every company's folding. If they didn't fold, what would have happened? You know, nothing. It would have been like, okay, but maybe you lose a little bit of money from the SJWs who don't watch your show or whatever. But it's like,
But this
there wouldn't be that like idea of like, oh, if I do this and create a collage and make an outrage, then they're going to cancel the show or do whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, there wouldn't be that. Then people would stop doing it
because
there
it's a
wouldn't be an
very
impact.
and I at this point it's a very vocal minority, and this is what I'm curious because it's like everybody's talking about the blue wave coming, that it's going to wipe out, you know, like a bunch of Republican seats in the Senate and all that stuff, and it's just like I really am curious for this election year to see like really like where we stand as a country, because I do feel like it was saying something, you know, with Trump versus Hillary and Trump won. I'm still like, so a couple years on, I'm curious to see like where the country, at least the voters of the country, stand, because it's like, you know, like and this is why I feel like the election's so important. It's like really going to determine like what direction does the majority of voters want the country to head? Do they agree with the PC madness, or are they more like want just, you know, still to keep like with certain traditional things about our culture? That's why I'm really curious to see the way this plays out, because it's like, is it truly a vocal minority at this point? Or are these people starting to turn to the majority, and we're actually in a minority mindset nowadays?
Is it bleeding into other like nations? Is it global? Like, I
Yes.
like even in the UK and shit.
Well, you got to figure some of those more progressive countries, they've been PC for a lot longer than you would realize.
I can't think of like any like cultural outrage or like any like video posted or.
Well, it's already ingrained into like their laws in like Germany and Switzerland and stuff. Like it's been ingrained in their laws for fucking decades.
Yeah.
That it's like, you know, like just a few instances, because you know how they let a bunch of Syrian refugees come over, and it's just like they have literally whole no-go zones under Sharia law in like certain areas of like, I forgot if it was Sweden or Switzerland or whatever, but it's like, and it's like, you know, like rape is up amongst refugees, but it's like they refuse to name them, and then they refuse to like really truly like hard prosecute them. On top of like their whole justice system over in Europe's pretty shitty anyways. Like you name the country, it's really shit. They let murderers go in like 10 years after staying at some like, you know, their prisons might as well be resorts.
Wow.
Like,
fucked
yeah,
up.
I don't know. Yeah, their whole system's fucked up over there. We're not perfect here, but yeah, it's way worse over there, especially if you're like just some poor like native, like, you know, like girl. It's just like you walk down the wrong street, you get raped. It's like you get no justice. And they didn't even, and these were refugees, and they weren't even willing to deport them. It's a joke. Like, and you start looking into this, and I'm just glossing over it. But if you really want to start looking into that shit, it's like it'll make you sick. The shit going on in Europe.
I will say though, London Parliament is hilarious. Like the way they have the wigs and still like how they sit in like bleachers from across each other and just like throw shit at each other.
Yeah,
That's crazy. That's
yeah,
just old school stuff,
they're
dude.
they have a House of Lords and a House of Commons, and it's like crazy. Their way they're set up is crazy.
It is crazy.
But also, as crazy as like
They still have the hierarchy, like the matriarch, like
yeah.
They do? I didn't know that.
yeah, the queen.
Oh, that's right. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, what I'm thinking, yeah. They still have all that
It's so
old school
it's crazy how
traditional
they
stuff.
still do that. Like,
That's
imagine
their
if the U.S.
president.
did that. Like,
A king and
imagine if we
queen.
were like Bush's children were our presidents right now.
Jesus.
But think about this though. I don't know if you heard about this, but it's just like they have anti-porn laws. They're not like they have very strict like porn production in the UK. Like now, like they've outlawed like everything that isn't just vanilla sex. Like even like
Wow.
whether it's like bondage or
You
spanking
talking
or
about, like,
anything.
Production or like videos online.
Production. Well, here's the funny thing: is they're trying to assemble a task force to start going after people hosting the videos there.
Jeez.
It's like so draconian that they're like
so
going
that's
backwards.
more
on
important
that.
than like people getting raped or like drug trafficking or anything.
Right.
a-
They're
what a-
putting
what a-
effort
what a
into
priority.
like censoring just what people do in the privacy of their own homes.
Man.
Good luck censoring anything on the internet.
Oh, shit.
You know,
Like, right.
So, yeah, dude, that brings up a good point.
unless you're China.
You can only visit
They've
these,
gotten really good at that.
You can only visit these 4 websites. Good luck. But yeah, I just saw some other thing too. Was about there's this thing called social listening tools now on social media. So like Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all the fucking social platforms, probably even more like with Reddit and anything else. Certain keywords you type in, now this is how they like key in things for like pop-ups and shit that you're doing. So like you might be browsing a site and you might have said something about a fucking hammer. You go to another website and you got fucking ads of hammers.
Oh, that's
everywhere.
been going on for a long time.
I know, but it's
that's like Facebook's like main like modus operandi. Like that's what they want. Same thing with Google. Like
Yeah.
every search you type in, it's like generating ads for other people that type in the same type
for
of
companies,
shit you
whatever.
type in.
Which I get it.
Have
it's
you heard
good.
of DuckDuckGo?
Yes.
No.
I just heard about that
Yes.
recently.
What the hell is that?
I use it.
You do?
What is it?
I just heard about it yesterday or I think Friday. It's a private. They don't track any of your searches. It's like Google, but they don't track any of your searches.
So people are going to use this now.
Well,
more.
and people don't realize it's like, okay, so say you have a Google account, you're logged in your Google account, you're on like Chrome or whatever. It's like they create a profile on you and like around what you search and everything you do. So the whole point of DuckDuckGo is to give you a little bit more privacy. They say they don't hold cookies. They say, they don't like literally. It's like they don't. They go out of their way to try not to track you every which way. It's
I could say I hate some of it, but there's some shit that I've typed in and I've got some stuff that I was looking for. I was like, wow, where did this come from? And why is this popping up? And then I figured out that's why. But it's like I bought some stuff because I was really interested in looking for this stuff, and I was glad they did it, but I still want my privacy in certain ways. I just think it's fucked up that they do that now. And now they're really pushing towards is chatbots for everything. For every business in the world, they want chatbots, meaning, smart AI things that when you go to order a pizza, you're talking to a bot and they can put your order in for you. You don't need that person anymore, which is taking people's jobs, but it's making automation more efficient with those type of things. Like you saw with the Google thing with talking about like to your phone, going to get a haircut. I mean, I don't know if you saw that video, but
I just saw some big shot innovator in China was saying, basically in the same vein, he was saying that he thinks that like what did he say? Like it was a high number. I think it was like 60 or 70% of the workforce won't have jobs in like 2030 or something like that.
I can believe it.
He thinks like everything will be automated and like
A scary thing about
he's like
automation.
governments need to act now to figure out what they're going to do when that happens. 'cause-
well, whatever they do, as long as they take jobs away from those retards at McDonald's that always fuck something up or takes forever. It's like, by all means, please look. Can we usher in the robot age at McDonald's earlier?
Dude, I want
Like,
to.
oh my god!
I want to agree with Sam a lot on this point because the other night I'm sitting there and I'm watching the Joe Rogan stand up and I'm like, I want some pizza. Well, I went on Grubhub because I wanted a certain fucking pizza place that's not deliverable, but they'll go pick it up. Well, of course, the people came an hour late with my pizza and it was like $60 for the pizza. Well, I called Grubhub and bitch or whatever. My wife and me were just super fucking pissed because the pizza didn't come hot. Didn't come the way we wanted it, whatever. And everything was just fucking ruined. It's like I waited 2 hours for a pizza that I could have went and got in 30 minutes. It's like, what's the point of having Grubhub if you're not going to have efficient people working for your company or whatever? So like with that automation and the convenience, you're still going to get people that don't know how to do their fucking job.
Dude,
so,
the amount of mopes delivering pizza is insane.
right, dude. It's not. It's bad. It's like it's Grubhub. They deliver anything. It's like the whole point of it's supposed to be like fast and it's supposed to be efficient. It's like you want to get. They want you make you pay for a tip before they even get in there. Like you're supposed to roll in the
Dude,
tip.
fuck that. Any website that's asking me to tip a driver before I get my food, I'm done delivering through you.
That was the last time we're gonna.
I
use
think it was
Grubhub for a
Papa
while.
John's. I think it's Papa John's website. They ask you to put in the tip before you place your order.
Fuck that. You can put a tip
And
on
I get
every
my
receipt.
order and it's cold, and I'm like, why the fuck did I tip you anything at all?
Right, exactly. So
Domino's does it. I'm pretty sure that's like where the direction they're going.
So stupid.
Domino's is great, dude. I ordered a
You get
pizza.
you get a tip based on your performance.
So yeah, I ordered.
Right.
I ordered
Yeah.
from Grubhub 2 hours to get this pizza. I ordered from Domino's, got it in 20 minutes, piping hot, everything I wanted. I was like, why the fuck am I ever gonna order off Grubhub ever again for this shit? I'll just go pick it up myself.
So the McDonald's, they have delivery now, right?
Yeah, certain
Is
area,
that through
certain
Grubhub or is that through
Uber Eats, I think.
Uber
Oh,
Eats.
Uber Eats.
Uber Eats is getting really big right now, which is I think it's a great dude. Uber, what a smart
I need
idea
to
to do
look
this shit.
into that.
You know, I also read something the other day too, and maybe you guys already knew this, but what is it? Internet usage is getting caught up to like TV. People that watch amount of TV a day, like the hours amount you spend on the internet, is getting actually to the point where it's averaging as about as people that watch cable TV or watching movies, and next year it's supposed to surpass it. Just because the amount of people watching videos, YouTube, Netflix, watching streaming shit, Twitch,
Well,
all
like,
that kind of stuff.
YouTube nowadays, I mean, it's basically like a show service. Like there's shows you can subscribe to channels, and they release like either daily or weekly content.
Yep.
It's like I don't know, like my dad, for example. Like when I say I'm watching YouTube, he'll probably think I'm just like watching stupid dumb videos. You know, which I
Yeah.
do on occasion, but it's like that's not all it is anymore.
That's what
you
it
know?
used to be when you first
Yeah.
got it. Now it's it's a bigger platform, but it was funny because it was like 80% of people that get on the internet only use it to watch videos, and they go to these like 6 websites. Is like the most traffic that they go to. A couple of social media ones, but then even on social media, you don't even read shit on social media anymore. Literally, it's every 5 seconds a fucking video or a meme on there. So I could see why they're pushing and trying to get people to go more toward the internet. Before you know it, the cable companies are just going to be on the internet, and there ain't going to be no fucking cable boxes and all that kind of shit. It'll be 5-10 years, and I think it'll
I
be
just wish there was more competition because, like, when these companies get too big and powerful, it's like not only is like the customer service go to shit and they don't care what you because it's like, well, what else are you gonna do? Like the cable companies, but it's just like I feel like that's the direction that YouTube's going because it's like I don't know if you've heard about what like when they demonetize or censor channels, and it's like. What reprieve do those guys have? It's not like they can go over to a competitor's website. So it's like I just feel like YouTube's like carrying way too much power right now, and I just wish there was some like direct competition with it.
for a video on demand type.
Yeah,
platform.
there's just not enough. I wish there was like another platform. I
Well, it's
wish it
hard.
wasn't the gold standard.
The biggest thing about it is you have to do something different that makes you stand out for people who want to go there, right? So I mean,
Well, I'm not even like an uploader or anything, but like I've seen other uploaders talk about how they wish there was more transparency with like how they're making their money or or how the advertisers are being chosen for their channel or it's just like it seems like it's a lot of guesswork and it's like YouTube holds all the answers but they're not telling anybody how it all works.
right. But it probably helps out too because I mean, what they're owned by Google and everything pretty much goes through Google's search engine, so a lot of things get already pointed towards YouTube, and that's it was the first. They're the first ones of the the game, so everybody knows where do you go to watch videos. You go to YouTube. So I agree with Sam's point. It'd be cool if there's another video on demand stuff, but it's like it's usually the first one to get there. Early bird gets the worm type bullshit type of stuff. So. And the same thing with anything. It's like, when you're talking about porn earlier, it's like going to Pornhub or RedTube or something like that. Who did it first? Pornhub. So they're the most probably popular one in the world that people go to for video on demand for porn. So it's like,
I wouldn't know. I don't watch porn.
I know. So, yeah, that was a good
I'm Mormon. I wear weird underwear.
this, which makes up a funny point because Joe Rogan was talking about with his friend, what's his name? He used to do MMA. I can't remember his name. He's got black hair. He's always on his show. He's got his own podcast as well.
Johnny Bravo?
No, not Johnny Bravo. I can't think of his name. But anyway, super funny guy. I always like
Eddie Bravo. I'm sorry. I said Johnny
Yeah,
Bravo. That was a little
yeah, Eddie
cartoon.
Bravo.
I thought you were being funny.
No, I knew there was some. I know Eddie Bravo goes on there a lot.
Is that who you're talking? Is that who
I think so. Yeah, the guy.
Eddie or Brendan or Brandon?
Brandon or Brendan, whatever
Schwab.
his name. Brandon Schwab, whatever. So he went to a sperm bank. I think I might have told you a story, Sam. He went to a sperm bank, and because he wanted to donate some sperm to have it on file just in case him and his wife wanted to have kids later in life, and and he can't shoot any loads that are fucking good anymore. So he goes there and he's getting ready to go in the room, and he said it's like a 1970s 80s feel. Walked in, there's some weird fat fucking weird creepy dude in there. He's like, hey man, we got porn mags over there on the left, and he's like, we got pornos you can watch here in the corner. And it's like a VHS and some old fucking tube TV. He's like, hey, you fucking dinosaur, I got my fucking phone here. You ever heard of Pornhub? And he's like, I'm going to go in there and use this. And like, he wanted to bring his wife in there, but of course they don't allow that. So I thought that was pretty good. He's like, I need some help, and stuff. And the guy's like, here you go. And like, he brings out the semen in the bag and gives it to him. The guy like picks it up and like looks at it and inspects it and is like, here you go, it's good to go, or whatever.
Dude,
And the dude's like, what are you doing? I'm gonna pull out and sniff it next? Like, what the fuck are you doing? Just sperm. Like,
Dude, I want to go up there to one of those places and bring like a rope with me, and be like, "Where can I tie off?" Like, I need to get some neck pressure going
you
here.
guys got to get certain size belts here, fucking nooses. I need to tie off real quick. But yeah, the other funny thing he brought up too, well, actually wasn't funny. It was actually disgusting.
Rest in peace, David Carradine.
He brought up the fact that there's so many people that have been caught now that are doctors that go in there, or whatever you want to call them, that fucking take your sample and put their own fucking jizz in there so they can have their offspring. And there was that guy that had like 300 kids with like 300 different women.
What?
Yeah, you didn't hear about that?
No.
And there's more and more people getting caught. Like there's some guy not too long ago that caught. He did like.
That was back in like the 80s or 90s.
That was like the 80s or 90s, but there's been a couple
What?
people doing like 5 or 10 people getting caught because the kids are coming out with like red hair and they don't have the red hair gene in there, so they get these,
Oh
blood tests
my
done. They're finding out
God.
that's not in their fucking offspring.
Talk about like a God complex. Like,
Dude, you know what the guy said?
I need more of my seed out in the world.
that's
Right?
exactly
I'm
what
gonna
he
have
said.
300 kids.
You Genghis Khan.
They gave the guy a felony. You know, he's in jail for like the rest of his life, but he's like, yeah, at least my name will live on forever.
But
It's
yeah,
like,
but
what
to
the
what
fuck?
ends? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, who gives a shit that much? It's like, talk about getting obsessed with
But-
a concept.
But it makes you think about it. It's
Jeez.
like, what do these doctors get so bored? They're like, what I can do to make have some fun in my life? It's like, I'm going to do that. It's like, maybe they should just make sperm doctors fucking women so this shit won't get happen. Because I don't think women are going to do that really. Maybe. Probably not as, you know, as much as men would. But, yeah, it makes me think about twice going to a sperm donor and doing that kind of stuff. Fuck, who knows what that kind of stuff would happen. But I thought that was just.
Oh yeah. Imagine like, God, imagine being a woman, like getting one of those donuts. You know, you think you're getting
Dude,
like
that would
a
fuck
tall,
fuck your-
handsome guy
yeah.
with full hair. You have a kid, it's like red hair and like
Red hair comes
oh,
out a
balding
different,
and-
you know.
one
my
leg
God.
shorter than the other.
Dude. What a
He's got to wear one of those weird shoes.
It's such a fucked up.
the platform.
Yeah.
God.
Oh man. Yeah. Here's another thing I was thinking about. I read this article the other day too. Was talking about how in the work environments nowadays, how much your boss has like an effect on your outside of your life, not just inside of your work environment, outside of your work environment. And I was like, yeah, that's not true. But now thinking about it, there's so many times where I'm at work and I'm having a great week, and my boss can say one thing to me and it literally fucks up my weekend until we talk and like in a personal level or stuff. Like, and like they're saying how like there's this like U-shaped thing you go through in life where you start a job, you love it, and everything's great. You get to like your mid 30s and 40s, you have a kid, you got more stress going on. Maybe you're not really good friends with your boss, or you are, and it kind of like you kind of like don't like your life as much. But then as soon as the kids get a little bit older and you're getting ready close to retirement, they get out of your house stuff, you get back to being like real happy in your life because you got more time and free time to yourself. Pretty much the topic was saying it was that the bosses have a big, you know, effect in your life, and if you make better friends with them, it makes your life easier in and outside of work, which I think is kind of a true statement. But at the same time, a lot of people don't want to have that personal relationship with their coworkers in and outside the office. They want to keep it, you know, just work related. So I don't know. I don't know what you guys would think about that, but I think it has something to do with.
I mean, there's definitely something to that. I mean, if just on a face value level, like if you don't get along with your boss, obviously you're gonna hate life more, just
Yeah.
in general. But like, I don't think bosses should be your buddies in general. Like,
I don't think so either.
it's cool, like if they want to be nice, but I don't think you should, because then it makes like when they have to come down and like say something to you, it makes it harder.
It does.
And-
You get that personal relationship with them.
Well, like even if it's easy for them to separate the relationship between, you know, work relationship and personal relationship, sometimes it may not be as easy for the person, you know, like if, oh, like, yeah, I have a great relationship with my boss and he thinks I'm cool and we're cool and we talk, we talk about stuff or movies outside of work or whatever. And then he comes down on you with something and you're just like, oh, like I thought we were cool, you know, like.
Yeah, because and here's the thing, is because that relationship should trump, the boss and employee relationship should trump like a friend and friend, but it's just like, goes back to you should be cordial and nice and friendly, but it's just like, don't get those two mixed up, because it's like at the end of the day, that is the boss, and it's just like, you know how shitty that makes you feel when it's like, you think one way, you're like, oh, I'm on pretty good terms with my boss, and they say some shit, and it's like, it's just a nice reminder that it's like, yeah, that's right, we're not friends, you're the boss.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I agree. I always just think that, you know, it was one of those things that was kind of up in the air. I read, I was like, you know.
I could definitely see that, though.
There's two sides to it. But, yeah, I don't think it is. It's kind of like when you, with your kids, you know, you want to have that I'm the parent type role. I don't want to be buddy and friends. Like, you know, you've seen those type of parents that are like, I'm just cool with my friend, like my son, like we're best friends or whatever. And there's no, like, real fucking discipline or anything because they let them walk all over. I think there's a point. Yeah, you be a parent, and then you get to a point in your life where you can be their good friend, right? You're still their parent, but then later in life you can be their friend when they're more mature and more grown up, right?
Yeah.
That's a little bit different, but same thing at work. It's like you can be their friend to a certain extent, but don't, you know.
There's a line that you can cross and you shouldn't.
Right. So, I don't know. I thought that was just
Leave it
interesting.
at small talk. How's the weather? Did you see that movie? Yada yada. But don't
Yeah.
go farther than that with
Yeah.
your boss, because bosses suck.
So has there been like any new shows you guys watching besides? I think the only show I've watched lately that I don't know if you guys have watched has been Castle Rock, which I finished. And
I
I thought,
still need to watch that.
I still need to watch that too. I literally got Hulu to watch that, and I got a free month trial. And now I'm just paying $8 a month.
Yeah, it's it's a different show, which I really liked about it. I'm gonna have to go back and watch some of the stuff because there's some stuff I missed.
Is it like suspense, horror?
It is.
Thriller?
It's all three. It's different. It's like there's like a mystery going on with a thriller. There's a suspense aspect to it, and then there's like there's some horror shit that goes on. Pretty much the concept of it, which is what happens is this guy goes back to where's the place everything resides in Stephen King's book?
Castle Rock.
I know Castle Rock, but I mean the actual town where he has everything, like where it resides.
I thought it was Castle Rock. It's not. I know. Well, Derry was it. I know. Well, because look, Stephen
It's
King.
Maine. It's Maine. Everything happens in Maine.
Yeah, because he's from the Northeast, so he sets a lot of his settings in the Northeast.
So it takes place in Shawshank, right? Shawshank Prison, whatever, which and it's by Castle Rock, and then they find this prisoner that's locked up in this old cell and deep in a fucking like well, and they think he's like the devil. The guy thinks he's the devil, and he's been locked in there for like I don't know 20 or 30 years in this cage, and he hasn't aged or done anything. He gets out, and then all fucking shit starts going really like weird. Like he can manipulate and like do stuff. So I still haven't really figured out if he's really the devil or not. So like I'm gonna go back and rewatch it. I don't really want to like leak any spoilers or anything if anybody really gives a shit. But I thought it was I think it's a really good show. There's it's very complex. There's a lot of shit going on. So it's like you really have to pay attention to figure out what's going on.
I like mystery shows. Like
Yeah. And I didn't know if there's any premise from like a book or anything on this, like, but I don't think there is. You know, J.J. Abrams wrote it with whoever else, Stephen King and someone else. You know, was part of it as well. But I think it's really well written. I'm gonna have to rewatch it. I just hate that Hulu got the rights of it, and this is the only thing I don't agree with. You know, we're so used to this new platform where Netflix releases something so you can binge watch it all 10 episodes in a
Castle
row.
Rock's week by week.
It's week by week, so you get fucking people on.
Honestly, I like that. I know people prefer to binge stuff nowadays. It depends on the show. Like once I get hooked on something, I like to binge. But in general, I go back and forth. Like I don't hate waiting week by week, but sometimes I like it. Like sometimes it's nice to have that suspense and that like that guessing game, and it also leads to like conversation online. Like I remember last season of Game of Thrones, just like going to the subreddit every week and just like seeing what people were going to speculate was going to happen next week, and like
I guess that is a good point. Maybe it's
and it kind of like extends the hype out a little bit. Like when a show comes out, like Stranger Things season 2,
Yeah.
everyone just devours it right away, and then it's just like gone in a week or two. You know,
Yeah.
it's like this way, like it keeps the conversation going and like
Yeah,
just
that's
keeps you
true.
thinking about it for a couple weeks.
for ratings and stuff. I get it.
The
Yeah.
show, seriously, I just remember Lost was great because it was all about suspense,
couldn't
and not even
imagine.
just week after week, because they would hit you like with some weird like, what? You know, right at the end
The
of
season
like some.
finale
But then the
spoilers.
season finales were always crazy. So you're like, what the fuck is going to
Having to wait
happen
a
at
whole
the
year?
beginning? Yeah, like oh, they found a hatch. What's in the hatch?
Dude, I never watched that show when it aired. I can't imagine having to wait that long. Like that was one of the shows that I just binged. I was like, I just. Had to
I
watch
got
all of
into it. My cousin got me into it, and I started watching. I think after season 2, I was watching it week by week, and it was just killer. Sometimes, like, what the fuck is gonna happen? And just keeping your ass on the edge of the seat because that, yeah, like builds the hype up for sure. But I like both, honestly. It's
Yeah.
like sometimes I just want to fucking binge something, and sometimes I just want to watch an episode here and there. Like I like both.
I agree. I'd be honest. Like when there's there's
Depends
certain
on the
shi-
show, I
It
think.
say it depends on the show. Like I watched Better Call Saul and I binge watched all 3 seasons, and now the 4 seasons out. I was like, I kind of just want to wait until I can binge watch it all again. you
I
know?
just finished that season 4.
Was it good?
I got all of that. If you want to watch it, yeah.
Yeah, I'll watch it.
It was good. It was a little slow, but it was, I guess, pretty important for Saul's character or Jamie's character.
Did they leave
like-
it off for another season,
Yeah.
or did it need to
So
be?
the ratings have gotten worse and worse
Mhm.
and lower, but I think the ratings are still like decent. But I think AMC's at the point where they probably let Vince do whatever he wants after Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
I really, really hope they don't cancel this show because like I just feel like the hype or like the attention it's getting is like kind of waning.
It's probably because of the fucking
Season by
Walking
season.
Dead.
But there's more story to be told there.
Yeah, well, I feel like they're getting close to bridging the gap between the two, Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad. So it probably only has like 1 or 2 more
I
seasons.
just like the
left,
whole.
but
It's the
I just hope they
origin story.
finish it. I just
the
wanna
origin
see
story
the
to Breaking
resolution.
Bad, which is what I like. I just don't The only thing I don't like what AMC is doing right now is the fucking Fear the Walking Dead and The Walking Dead. Just kill both the shows. I'm fucking sick of it. These people that are obsessed with all this shit. It's like Walking
How
Dead needs to be over.
ironic. The Walking Dead.
Well,
Walking Dead.
The Fear the Walking
It
Dead.
just keeps going.
Here's the worst part about it too.
Show.
I don't
It's
even know
like
if it's
canceled.
the Fear the Walking Dead's an origin or like a play off it, but it's like they
it's
have.
supposed to be an origin. Yeah.
Is it? They got fucking Morgan in that show now. Like it's one of the lead or main characters. It's like, can we just stop? Like I'm just done with it. Like I used to be one of those people who wanted to keep watching. I got to a point
Which
where
I don't know
stopped.
how that's possible because by the time Rick comes across Morgan, and this is like the only I don't know a lot about that show.
Yeah.
But when Rick comes across Morgan, I think it was in season 1, right?
Yeah.
When he's held up in his house with his kid.
Yep.
And his kid shoots his dead mom.
Yep.
Like, wasn't he held up in his house the entire time? Like,
Yes.
how is he in this prequel?
I don't know.
Running around town with all
It
these
doesn't
people
make
if
any
he was held up
sense.
in his house. Like,
You know, and they let Chris, whatever his name is, back on the Talking
Chris
Dead.
Hardwick.
Yeah. So I mean, they let him back after that whole incident, whatever the fuck happened.
I just want to
Well-
say, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I hope what they're doing with the Game of Thrones spinoffs isn't as lame as the
I thought
Walking
they said.
Dead
I thought they
spinoffs.
said they weren't doing any spinoffs.
I'm pretty sure they're going to.
Are they?
They're definitely going to try and squeeze as much money out of the Game of Thrones as
I
they
mean,
can.
they try to do that with. I think Vikings try to come out and do like a spin-off of their own stuff, but like to have the same feel as Game of Thrones, Vikings, whatever. I started watching it. I can't get into it, dude. I don't
My
think
parents liked it, but
Did
It's
they?
good. I like it. I didn't keep watching it, but I
couldn't-
watched the first few seasons. It was very enjoyable.
Was it?
Yeah, because it's like they do
they
stick
get into that
pretty
Norse
close.
mythology.
Yeah, they stick pretty close to that whole. Because I just love history, and it's just like Viking history is just badass. They just
It is
literally
pretty
they're
fucking cool.
conquerors. They go and
Valhalla
fucking.
and-
Yeah, well, yeah, they fucking they go and they raid the English coasts and like
Rape and pillage.
because they're just such hard asses. Like the English weren't even prepared for these like kind of like hard ass people. Like their whole lives were like, and this too is because it's like you're watching the show and it's just like they don't pull any punches really because it's like Vikings were into human sacrifice. And there was this scene where it was just like, they're about to push off to like on another voyage and they needed to sacrifice a virgin. And it was like kind of fucked up to watch because they picked this poor girl and they just like, I forgot if they just bury her alive or kill her and put her in this hole or whatever, but it's like, that's what they used to do is sacrifice people. And it's like, the fact that they stuck instead of like, because they really dramatize the show to where it's like, it does feel like, but just in the vein of Game of Thrones, it's like, yeah, it's like, it's a fantasy, sure, but it's just like, I would say that's pretty dead on to how things were in medieval times. It's like you didn't have good guys and bad guys. There's a lot of gray there. And it's just like, is it inherently, were these people evil because they made human sacrifices? That was just part of their religion. That's what they believed.
Well, that's one of the parallels I like between Game of Thrones and like nowadays is religion. It's like you have these different factions that believe in different gods and they're at war with each other. Like that's how it is nowadays. Even it's like that could be in medieval times or it could be nowadays.
Yeah.
Muhammad Jihad.
It's like you believe in the Lord of Light or do you believe in the Lord that gives you 70
Yeah,
virgins when
now that you mention
Right.
that, there's a
Plug
lot. Religion is very important in Game of Thrones, and the fact that I just love that there's more to it though, because it's like there's a grounding in reality in that show. Like the religions are based around like real things,
It's
not
important.
just
I
like.
think it's important in every era. Like that's the like he was saying. Like it's just a premise. Is what people base everything around is religion and politics and
Yeah,
pretty
I'm
much
just,
everything.
but it's just more exciting in that show because it's like real fantasy shit, not just like power of prayer, that kind of stuff.
Power of
and,
prayer.
and whatever. I don't know. It's just not exciting nowadays.
I'm pretty pumped up though for the next.
The next sermon next Sunday.
Yeah,
the
next
next
sermon
service.
next Sunday with
I
Game of
can't wait.
Thrones.
I'm gonna be first in line for that communion, boy. I'll tell you what.
Oh,
Yeah,
Jesus.
Save me, Jesus.
yeah. The next Game of Thrones. I'm glad, but he hasn't released any books and that stuff, right? I think I've asked that before. Like, there's no one knows what's going to happen in the Game of Thrones. right?
He's too busy eating cheeseburgers.
The show, the show's already diverged away from the books.
Uh-huh.
So whatever happens to the show, I mean, some of it might happen in the books, but I think it's kind of doing its own thing now, right?
Yeah, I mean they got a loose. From my understanding, it's like they got the loose plot about how he wanted to end it.
But it's not going note for note
More-
with what he's doing.
More wieners.
Yeah, 10 times more wieners in this next season. But no, I'm not gonna lie to you. It's just like there's been, even Neil Gaiman came out and was saying because people were like, like harping it. George R.R. Martin to like finish the novel, and like Neil Gaiman released this statement. It's like George R.R. Martin isn't your bitch. It's like he can do whatever he wants. You know, from an author's point of view, I get it, but it's just like look at it from a fan's point of view. You know how brutal it was waiting for Harry Potter's to come out when I was younger, and
Dude.
she was pumping them out pretty
She
consistently.
did.
Oh, yeah.
She did a good job.
And so it's just like that was my only experience on waiting on books. So it's just like, you know, it's like so fuck me right on the asshole, because it's like you got me like so completely engulfed into this like fantasy world that you created, and you're the one holding up like, you know, resolutions to some of these things. And it's just like, so yeah. And I'm a reasonable person. It's like I can only imagine some of these people that are a little bit more off kilter that are like, yeah, like actually posting online,
Like
like
Misery.
bitching, and yeah, exactly. And it's but it's like
book.
Finish it.
but it's like in a way I can understand, because it's just like, yeah, I literally just we want an ending, and it's just like fuck you for like, because also too it's like, you know how much shit he's done in between then. It's just like ever since it got big, it's like he's been like he's deprioritized actually finish writing it,
Yeah, he's
because
been
he
eating
spent his
cheeseburgers.
time, you know what he spent years doing these past few years, writing a book on the history of the Targaryens. Which I don't get me wrong, I'm very interested in. I think that'd be really cool, but it's like it just seems inappropriate. It's like finish the goddamn novels first, and finish the story out, the Song of Ice and Fire. Then you go ahead and you do all that side
history,
shit and
yeah.
build
Yeah.
out that whatever. It's like don't stop your novels to that shit and just another year. And this is what kills me is another year where he came out and is apologizing because it's going to take longer. And it's just like, you know what? And this is why at this point I'm not going to probably read any more books. I'm going to go and watch the show. And to me at this point, it's a show now.
yeah.
I'm not even going to buy one more fucking
Oh,
book.
really?
Like, yeah, I don't plan on it. I'll read them and spoil them or whatever to see what he comes up with. But that's the point I got to where it's like, I'm done waiting. So it's like, to me, HBO Game of Thrones is canon. And what happens to that, like what happens through that story, I'm content with that. And
I am too.
I'll read spoilers on Wikipedia about the books, but I don't plan on reading any more of his books.
God, to me, there's so many like questions left unanswered. I feel like the last seasons they're either gonna just completely throw a lot of that out the window, or it's just gonna be so busy, like trying to explain all. Like I still want to know what's going on with the Lord of Light. I still want to know what's going on with like the faceless characters.
I do too.
With Arya.
I think she's gonna.
I still want to know what the fuck's going on with Bran and like the time traveling or whatever, the crow.
Yep.
Yeah,
They-
'cause
they
there's not-
better explain that. I don't really.
Because yeah, you're worried they're not gonna have enough time to like expand it on like on any of that.
Well,
you
yeah,
know, they're
it's
just
set-
gonna rush through and be
it's
like,
fully
oh,
explained
here,
everything.
yeah.
Is it gonna be just 7 episodes or 8
I feel like
or
they're just
whatever
gonna
it is?
focus
think
on the
it's gonna be
undead
8.
army and
So dumb.
John and the actual battles and like yeah, that's awesome. That's great, but like yeah, there's so much they can expand on.
But this is what's great about this. I'll give it to you too, because there's that one guy's channel, Alt Shift X, where it's like, wait until the books come out and he reads them. He'll dissect them for us, and then it's
Yeah.
just like we'll get a little bit more backstory on that. But also I know he purposely some of that stuff like Sotheros it exists in that world, but he never planned on it being more than just mentioned as like characters like coming from there. And like, cause like, and I will get it. Like that's, you know, a great part of story. That's what makes great storytelling, in my opinion, is like you have such an expansive world that you can't hit it all. There's still some pieces out there that will always be mysterious, that you'll always be questioning, or like, you know, the destruction of Old Valeria. I love that because
Yeah.
it's like in the books they got to a point where they, and I forgot if they got it in the show too, but it's like they go through Old Valeria.
I think
and
they
it-
did in the show.
Did they? And
We
it's
did
like,
with
yeah.
Tyrion. Remember they
Yeah.
both
So
through
it's
there?
like, and there's the questions raised because it's like, and I love regular history. It's just like, and hit lore history, and that's what I love about World of Warcraft, is how in depth they go in their lore on the history and shit. But it's just very interesting to me, and I feel like that's just a great part of world building is, you know, mythology in the own world, and it's just like there's some stuff. I don't ever want them to explain out because it's better mysterious, but then some of that stuff is like, yeah, I would love for them to expand a little bit more on the Children of the Forest or like shit like that.
Well, you know what the other problem with that is sometimes, like you're saying, some things are better left unsaid. And the best example I can give is about Harry Potter is because some of the shit that she's rehashing, she doesn't need to be hashed out. Like saying that Dumbledore's gay didn't need to be said. Even if, you know, it was never depicted in the books, it was something that never needed to be said after the fact to make people more happy that we had a gay character in the book, right? The whole thing with the play saying, well, we never said Hermione wasn't black or whatever it was like that. It's like, leave that shit alone. That doesn't mean, you know, that shouldn't even been in the play probably. Like, that was a whole fucking joke
Wait,
too.
what? Hermione's black?
In because Cursed Child, the book is actually a play, and they just put it into a book. But anyways, it was a play, and so yeah, the original cast member of Hermione on the play was black.
Yeah, so they went from being the movie and the book, she's white, to being black in the play or whatever, and there's a huge controversy about it and stuff, and it's like that should have never happened. And then the biggest thing recently was the whole prisoner Asian snake girl that was getting treated as a slave or whatever. That shit, I get it.
Oh, Nagini.
Yeah, but come to find out, Nagini is a foreign type of Asian word they use for snake, and it's depicted as some type of Japanese thing where it means dominant snake or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it meant, but it's not. That's why she made it as a woman, because it's supposed to be as a woman character, pretty much.
Like the Naga from World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
I believe that they both come from
the sea.
Yeah, but it's the same. I think
It's the same premises, pretty
they
much.
because they pulled it from the same. I think they both of those pulled it from the same thing in Hindu history. Is because it is
She explained it, and it made really good
she
sense,
did.
and people are still getting outlashed about it. But it's
and good, because you know what, all of her opinions now are invalidated because she's an Asian racist.
Right, exactly. So all I'm saying is sometimes some stuff is best left unsaid, because I feel like she doesn't need to answer these questions because they're not important.
Well, and some of the questions it keeps that hype going too. Like the end of Sopranos.
Yeah.
Like the finale. It's did he get shot, or is he dead, or is he alive? It's that question's still out there. People still talk about that.
Did he choke on an onion ring?
Right.
But I was gonna say with Harry Potter specifically. Oh, I was gonna say about the Chinese movie market. I mean, they're not gonna be hard pressed to see a lot of Asians cast in a lot of movies here soon, anyways, because China's gonna they're gonna start dictating a lot what's going on with movies.
Right.
Because they're movies are getting so big over there. Hollywood's going to start being if Hollywood makes more money in China than they do the U.S., who do you think they're going to tailor movies to?
Right. All I'm
Right.
saying is I can't wait for Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon 6.
They're going to turn it into an extended universe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm
Man, that tiger sure does crouch.
I'm excited though to see the new Fantastic Beasts and see the origin story behind a lot of the stuff that's coming forward with all that crap. I just think, like you said earlier, it's
Come on, guys. I just want to see Jude Law kiss Johnny Depp.
I do too.
Don't we all here?
Well, yeah.
Come
'cause,
on.
I mean, that's the whole reason this movie came about, was for that to happen.
Popping a bee just thinking about it.
I just don't want anything else to I don't want her to ruin anything else with Harry Potter. Leave fucking Harry Potter alone. It was great the way it was.
Leave Harry alone.
And that's it. That's all I'm saying. Just leave the movie alone, the books alone, and go forward with this other stuff. That's my piece with that. So,
Man, I can't believe she would just sitting in a coffee shop and what's a good word for a person that doesn't use magic? Muggle.
yeah.
Just her just thinking this shit up in her head, she's just sitting in a coffee shop, Expelliarmus,
Yeah.
It's
And now she's the
now
richest
she's-
woman in
yeah,
the
now
world.
She's fucking wealthy.
Yeah, one of the most expensive children's books is a first edition of the original, because they only printed, I think, 500 copies.
Wow.
And it's called The Philosopher's Stone in England.
So I always wondered that too. So because if you go on Cody, right, and you look at a bunch of movies, the movie is actually called The Philosopher's Stone instead of The Sorcerer's Stone in America. I was like, what is this bullshit? So I looked it up. Yeah, that's what they called it over there. So makes sense.
I guess Americans are too stupid for the word philosopher.
Yeah.
Well, let's be honest, they are.
Right. They can't depict between
Sorcerer. That sounds better.
philosopher, sorcerer, but yeah. It's the whole Pottermore and Potter shit that's going on though. It's crazy. You think you're a celebrity here. It's those guys are fucking. They're not even casting in movies, and they're fucking. They're right out the red carpet wherever these fucking guys go out there. It's unbelievable.
Just to hang one more point I want to make about the Harry Potter shit, and it's just look, it's her world. She has every right to be whatever, but it's what a lazy way to go about it. Is this she announced that Dumbledore was gay in a tweet. It's not like she fleshed out some backstory or whatever. Yeah. It was just sure there was the implication there that he had a history with Grindelwald that was unspoken, but it's just look, if you really want that fleshed out, then either A, why didn't you include that in the original stories?
Exactly.
Or B, why don't you make a news story that expands on that? You just releasing a tweet, oh, he's gay. That's what I hate, is her sitting there dictating new shit down as canon in tweets.
Oh,
and
by
it's
the
just
way,
Because people were chomping at the bit for a new
Oh,
Harry
yeah.
Potter book, and
Oh,
it's
by the
like, so
way,
just fucking release one.
Harry's bisexual, and him and Ron had butt sex. So it's
Right.
like cool. Like, where was that in the tweet? Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to leave that out too. So it's like, yeah,
That was just implied because all English are kind of gay.
but yeah, I don't see why someone would need to do that.
They bug each other.
I mean, could you imagine George R.R. Martin come out and saying something in a tweet that depicts like the whole universe of something in fucking Game of Thrones? People would fucking probably try to stab him.
Yeah, he only tweets about cheeseburgers.
Right. So, have you guys seen any other movies though, or TV shows?
Oh, the one I wanted to mention is, have you guys seen any of Big Mouth on Netflix?
Dude.
I haven't. I heard it was fun.
Oh
So-
my! So season 2 is out now,
Nicole.
and literally,
I was about to say he just had him on Joe Rogan, Nick Kroll, and I listened to some of the stuff. I didn't know Big Mouth was about. He was the main character in the show. Was Nick
It's
Kroll?
about him as a kid, right?
Yeah, as a kid. I
it's
didn't-
it's about. I would argue it's like, yeah. I know it comes from like, I think. How like Seinfeld's loosely based on Larry
Yeah.
David experiences. It's like I would imagine some of this shit in the show is loosely based on Nick Kroll's experiences growing up.
What's what he said?
But yeah, the premise of the show is literally it's kids going through puberty, and it is funnier than shit.
Apparently, there's a character called like
Hormone
hormonal
Monster.
Yeah.
He is the funniest. It's just so funny.
Well, he said in the podcast, he said something about like how it came up, and he was like, "Yeah, I just thought hormonal monster," and I started doing this weird deep voice, and everyone's like, "That sounds really good," or something like
and
that.
I didn't realize until I looked it up because I was like, because they have some good voice actors on the show. Jason Mantzoukas plays a fucking hilarious kid. Maya Rudolph plays the female the hormone monstrous.
Dude, I need
And
to see
then,
that.
so Nick Kroll plays
on
the main
Netflix, right?
character, Nick. Yeah, it's on it's a Netflix produced show.
Of course.
And then his best friend Andrew is voiced by John Mulaney.
John Mulaney.
Because I heard,
Yeah, they did Broadway together.
Yeah,
I heard, what's it called? The show Cartoon Network tried to pick it up, but Netflix offered him better stuff, and it was pretty much, he could do whatever he want with Netflix. So
right.
can't really blame him. A lot of people don't like Nick Kroll, dude. A lot of people think he's a douche. I was reading about that online. Like,
He's done so much funny stuff. I don't understand the hate.
I think it's some of his movies. People have hated him on him
He,
from
well,
it.
he plays a lot of douche characters, including the douche in Sausage Party.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
true.
Like that's like his go-to character is like some version of a douchebag.
Remember
Yeah.
Jaeger bombs? He
Yeah,
had that
yeah.
Jaeger bomb skit.
I think he's hilarious. I like
think
him.
He is too.
I think he brings a different spin to comedy and some of the stuff that people, the characters that people want.
The
those
league,
roles.
the league sold me on him and how funny he was. That's just a funny show. It's
Yeah.
just a funny ass show.
When that first show first came out, I was like, "This is gonna be stupid." And then I watched it, dude. That was a great show.
Yeah.
Even if you're not a big sports guy, or not,
Yeah,
it's fucking great.
which I wasn't, but it was still funny.
Yeah.
Dude, Jason
Some of the sports
Manz
references went over my head, but yeah, Jason Mantzoukas
is
like,
dude. He's a fucking
Paul
wild
Scheer.
man. Everything I've ever listened to him in, like he's one of the funniest people.
Yeah.
I would argue.
I would think- yeah, I
Seriously,
think so,
he's
too.
just he's willing to say shit that's just so like absurd and appropriate.
I don't listen to Comedy Bang Bang the podcast a lot, but the few that I've listened to, that he was on a couple of them, and dude, it's so funny. Him and Scott Aukerman, I guess they've known each other for a long time too.
Do
and,
a lot of comedians now all have podcasts? Does it seem like is that just a mainstream
Not just
thing?
comedians. Everybody's getting podcasts.
I get
Literally
that.
everybody. But
I've
yeah,
se-
I could easily see it. As a good medium for comedians, though. Like
I mean,
that they get into.
I saw one from like some nostalgic stuff from maybe I brought it up before, but by Bam Margera was on one just to hear what was going on with him for a while or whatever. And maybe I brought it up already, but there's been more and more. I see more and more people on podcasts, which maybe this is a common thing now. This is how people like hearing content and hearing stuff. Which
But it's just like, look, Joe Rogan, I would argue, was always a mediocre comedian, stand-up comedian. In my opinion, everybody's entitled to their own opinion. To me, he was always mediocre.
I
but
thought he was always mediocre.
He
too.
literally created the best podcast show that's ever existed.
So there's a lot of people demanding him to get The Rock on there because everyone thinks if he gets The Rock,
The Rock. He's getting too much hype nowadays for
I
no
think
good
it'd be
reason.
cool listening to him because he's really motivational and he's got a lot of stuff going on for him. He's better than Kevin Hart, so fuck Kevin Hart.
well, I forgot somebody recently said, I think it might have been Joe Rogan or somebody, but they were saying like fuck these people that make posts like, or maybe it was on Improv for Humans, I don't remember, but like people post stuff and it's like they're just showing off what they have, or like either showing off their body or showing off their cars or showing off whatever, when it's like masked as like an inspired post. Like, oh, it's like, fuck you, you're not trying to inspire me, you're just trying to show off everything you have, you know?
Right.
It's like I agree with you. It's like The Rock, he's been pretty solid, but I don't know why he's the highest paid actor. You know, I don't know why
and I
I don't know what his draw is. You know, it's like
Everybody,
it's not like he's an amazing
it's
actor.
It's his
you know?
positivity
No,
around
but-
life and everything.
But here's the thing that sold me on him being kind of a douche is when he travels, he has a whole crew dedicated to setting up his own personal gym. And it's like, you know, so that leads me to believe, like, it's just like he's probably, and I'm just guessing, but it's just like, I just got this feeling he's douchey. And because he got into it, remember, he had a little feud with Vin Diesel going on. With Fast and Furious,
Yeah.
and it's just like, look, and it's like, it's not like I know Vin Diesel's whole history, but he's always seemed like a very reasonable guy, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just like, and I know more about him than The Rock, so it's just like, in my opinion, it's like, how would you have a problem with him? You know, I feel like, if anything, probably like, I bet Vin was just comfortable because it was like, what, his 6th Fast and Furious movie?
Well,
like,
yeah.
that's his shit. And it's
Well,
like, The Rock comes in and
I think
is
that's
turning
I
it
think
up.
that's why there was drama, is because it seems like The Rock's trying to like steal the franchise or something.
yeah, as the
and-
big guy.
Yeah, and Vin's like, wait, what? Like who's even making that decision to give him the rights to do that? You know, I think, and who was that black guy, Tyrese Gibson?
yeah, Tyrese.
He was pissed off too. I think like
Yeah.
there's a lot of drama between him and The Rock too.
Yeah,
That's all I'm saying is Vin Diesel's always seemed like a good guy. He might not be. He might be raping women in his basement, Harvey Weinstein style. Who knows?
Dude,
but
going back to your point about Joe Rogan, though, like I was saying earlier, like he's always been mediocre to comedian stand-up because I'm not, you know, the biggest on comedians, but I'm getting more into it. And his newest show came out, it seems like he's more polished. Like there's certain things I don't like some of his comedian stuff, but it's like I would actually go see him probably because I like him more as a person now. But I'd go see him in stand-up. I wish I would have saw him this year when he came a couple months ago. I heard it was pretty good.
Who's that?
Joe Rogan, but his latest one on Netflix, dude, I laughed pretty hard. It was actually pretty good.
I'm not saying that. Yeah, no, like
He's
he
got a
always
lot of-
has some zingers that make me that'll get me on
He's got
all
some,
of his.
He had some good
But
political points and some good funny stuff. But like going back to your point with him on what's it called, on just podcasts in general, yeah, he is the best person in podcasts in my opinion. You know, he doesn't even go out and like seek out people. They just come out to him and they want to be on his show. Which
at
is
this
different
point,
too,
yeah,
you know.
Yeah, well, I think his main draw these days is he interviews like interesting guests, and
Yep.
he's not afraid to like he'll bring in somebody from the hunting community because he's into hunting, and he'll just like basically talk about hunting for 2.5 hours or whatever it is. But that's what people like, is like specialized stuff. Like he'll bring in somebody, you know, like an astronaut or something, and talk about science, space for 2.5 hours. He'll bring in Neil deGrasse Tyson and talk about physics for 2.5 hours.
I mean, even though lots of stuff.
Like, I don't watch every single one of his podcasts.
Neither do
I only
I.
watch the ones that I'm interested in seeing.
I watch some
Yeah.
of his, I like watching some of his clips. I don't like to watch all of his shit. But yeah, the other thing I like about him too is most people think he's a dumbass, and he's really actually educated a lot, which makes it interesting.
It's weird. He's kind of like, he reminds me of he's kind of dumb like Eddie in regards to like conspiracy theory stuff.
Yeah.
But he is kind of book smart. Like he is well read. Like he knows like certain things about history and like
I think he does his homework before he does. People come on
he's
shows.
he's not
you know.
a dumb guy.
and
but
especially
he's-
the things that he's like really into or enthusiastic about, like
really well
like
versed in.
hallucinogens. Like he's done his homework
DMT and all
and
that,
yeah, like all that shit. He knows his
He's
like.
really big in health, working out.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
MMA,
yeah.
all the stuff that
Dude, he even has his own line of supplements, which I
Well-
believe are like, aren't they? Doesn't
got-
he have a supplement that's like?
for your brain. He has one for thinking. and
But
make-
it's like all like medicinal mushroom based too. Doesn't
Yeah.
he have one?
Oh, really?
Yep.
Like yeah, it's like completely just like from medicinal mushrooms.
Yeah, so like he, I mean, I just like brands the spin he brings with everything. He doesn't just have one thing. It's like it's not just all MMA people. Like he grew up doing mixed martial arts his whole entire life.
I don't really watch his MMA stuff. Steph loves that shit. I'm not really that interested.
I mean, I
in it.
listen to like a lot of his stuff. He talks about some of the mainstream stuff, like when he's talking about Conor and the big Khabib fight, whatever went on, the big money fucking fight or whatever. But besides that, it's like I like listening to Brandon Schwab because he was the next MMA guy, but he doesn't even fight anymore. So like, it's one of good Joe Rogan's friends. So they go on there and shoot the shit. That's why I like listening to him talk. But when he brings somebody from MMA on that I don't care about, I don't really listen to it. I mean, sometimes they talk on some cool topics, which is when I listen to the clips for the most part. Like until he brings on something really interesting, like Elon Musk,
Diaz.
Joey Diaz, dude, fucking I love Joey Diaz.
Oh my
He's changing flavors.
That dude, he's got his own podcast too. I can't listen to his podcast.
I can't listen to him for too long.
But I can listen to his stories.
I like
he's
the clips of Joey.
He's got some really good stories
Yeah.
growing up.
Oh
being
God,
Sicilian, and
he was crazy. He's a wild man.
I think his family and his mom are crazy, like stabbing people and doing shit.
I think there's a podcast out there for most people though. Like, I don't know if your average listener listens to more than one podcast. Because like I remember I was listening to Your Mom's House, and I'll listen to it every now and then, depending on if they have somebody good on or not. But like Improv for Humans, I'll listen to that every week, no matter what,
Right.
no matter who's on there. But it's like there's a lot of podcasts out there
There
that
is.
don't get like a shit ton of attention. Joe Rogan's obviously he's hit that critical mass.
Well,
where
he's
it's
one of
just-
the first people to do it
Well,
too.
and he gets like interesting guests. You know,
Yeah.
Elon Musk comes on and he makes headlines. You know.
You know, the other thing is weird. Too.
Literally,
I look at his
there-
podcast. He doesn't get millions of views like some like Steven Crowder. He always has millions of views, but he does something that no one else does. He goes to fucking feminist rallies and does something. He's on their wanted list to get stabbed and killed. You know, like we were talking about. That shit is fucking crazy what he does. I'm in this day and age.
All I know is the rhetoric escalates. Like there's gonna be there's political violence now, obviously, but in the future there's gonna be more. I think people are gonna start dying.
Probably. You know, the other thing
Everybody's just gone.
I
gone
like
off
about the
rails.
whole platform of podcast, especially with Rogan, because he comes from a place where he used to do news and do like social media crap. Is it's unbiased and it's unfiltered and it's open. Like he don't clip things out. It's just pretty much they talk the entire time and what he says is what he says. Maybe he has a biased opinion on certain things, but it's not leaning a certain way before you go on there. Like, you know, if like say you had a podcast on CNBC, they would cut everything out that they wouldn't put on the air, and it just the things you wanted to hear. Like that stuff doesn't happen. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's
It's like a
unfiltered.
long form too. You know, hours of uncut.
Yeah, sometimes it goes like 3 hours.
Dude, 3
Yeah.
hours of shit, you know, that's cool. And that's what I appreciate about it, like his stuff too. Like he just gives a straight opinion. There is no person dictating what they're going to say and what they're going to talk about.
I think in the future, as like traditional media forms just go to shit. I mean, newspapers are already gone to shit. Who gets newspapers anymore besides people who line bird cages? I think like he's like he might as well be like because nighttime like late night shows are going to shit.
what has
Besides Conan,
Well,
but
did you hear they're changing Conan's format? He's changing his format.
I did not.
He just did like a goodbye episode to his band. He's letting his band go, so he's going from an hour to half an hour. But he said not to. He like told people not to worry because he said it's going to be better actually because it's going to be more condensed and like there probably won't be a monologue. He may like interview like one person instead of two. But he said it'll give more time to focus on like doing the remote stuff that everybody loves, which I love his remote stuff.
Yeah, on top of like it'll I mean that'll suit online better too
That's
and
exactly
clips
that's one of
too.
the reasons he's doing it. He's doing a new podcast, and he said it'll be better for online, like going that way.
But I feel like Joe Rogan's like the new Johnny Carson
To me, that's what I was going to say too.
because it's like I think anybody could admit is like Dave and Jay Leno. They just couldn't hold a candle to Johnny Carson, and I've never watched Johnny Carson, but just from the way you hear people
I've
talk
watched some
about
clips
him,
of
is like he was the standard.
he made or break comedians back then.
yeah.
He made or broke comedians back then.
And
If you didn't get his thumbs up or whatever after performance, like Jerry Seinfeld says, that's what made his career. Like going on Carson and get the thumbs up from Johnny Carson.
That's awesome.
But yeah, no. So I just think that like going to the future as things change, it's just like obviously the late night shows have gone to. It's not about comedy anymore. They're also political.
Political.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. It's all
So
about
political.
political
And
stuff.
it's just like whereas it's like Jay and Dave even used to be at least a little bit. Obviously, they're still slanted to a certain, but like they weren't like just sitting there spending a whole like show ragging on George Bush. Whereas
Right.
it's like, I get it, okay? A lot of people hate Donald Trump, and it's just like, I personally hate the way he talks. But it's just like, whatever. It's just like, I don't understand the obsession with him in the media, where it's like, dude farts. It's like they spend a whole week talking about who would offend it. And it's just like, is there nothing else going on in the news? It's just
Dude.
like, why are you guys so up his ass and it's like so critical when it was just the complete opposite for Obama? I get it. People would argue it's like, well, he's so different and yada yada, this, that, and the other. But it's just like, I don't know, man. I don't think they're as different as people make them out to be.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day,
I got one last thing I really want to talk about, and it might be like a 5-10 minute topic or whatever. But so there was a topic that came out, an article. It's gonna be like about gaming, so you guys might care, might not care. That they put Ninja on the front of ESPN magazine said
Yeah, I saw
he
that.
was gamer of the year, player of the year, sports athlete of the year, esports athlete of the year, whatever you want to call it. And Jimmy Kimmel came out and said, something about like, cool, like some guy that jerks off and nerd in his basement that has no friends or whatever is making all this money and is getting esports of the year or whatever. The guy wrote this article that has been following esports for 20 years or whatever. He's been in I guess he's a journalist or something. I'll have to send you guys the article because it's really good. Pretty much saying he's not the face of esports. He's the face of streaming and people, what they do to make money as a business nowadays, not for esports. There's a whole different culture of people that go into esports like an athlete. Now, they're not considered, true athletic people, but they're still considered, a sense of an athlete, where these people, they get up, they live in a gaming house, they don't get to see their family for a long time. They're working 10, 12-hour days, going over demos, videos, whatever their role is, playing the game, they live in this culture of doing stuff. It's a grind, just like any other athlete or whatever, but their standards are set a little bit higher where they go, they don't perform, they're kicked out, there's stress with it involved. When you're a Twitch streamer, you set your own schedule. If you're popular and famous, it's a 9-to-5 job. You can set your schedule, whatever. There's no stress. You can still get shit done during the day. You're like family stuff, hobbies, whatever.
Dude, it's two. I agree. It's two different things, but it's ESPN capitalizing on Fortnite's success and Ninja's success.
I get it. And it's cool. It is a good thing what he's doing. Like, they put him on there to get it out there, to make it more mainstream, to let people know that this is a growing thing with people. And 2 years ago, ESPN's like, gaming's stupid. We're not going to do anything with it. We don't want anything to do with it. Now they're fucking eating their words.
Well, it's because there's money.
Right. Now there's money and there's a lot of viewership, right, with the
They realize there's money in it, so that's why they're...
Yeah, and it's the same reason why the Olympics want to pick it up and start putting esports in Olympics. There's a lot of money made in it. The whole thing I'm talking about is I don't like still that these comedians or people, they're just like ripping on it just to make a point, like Jimmy Kimmel. Like, it pissed me off. It's like, fuck you, dude. Like,
Well, yeah,
you know
look,
nothing about it.
late night shows are dying. Those people suck.
And it's just like
Jimmy Kimmel sucks.
It's just like anything that's non-standard, like the Space Force.
Yeah.
Like when that got announced, they got laughed at, and I'm sure there's still people that are like, "Oh, that's ridiculous." But I mean, same thing happened with the Air Force when that was announced.
Yep.
Air Force was part of the Army, and they were like, "Well, we're going to start having planes out there. We should probably have a dedicated, branch for the Air Force."
Yeah.
Same thing with the Space Force. I mean, yeah, it's kind of ridiculous right now, this second, because we don't really need something like that this second. But there might be a time and a place where we have a lot of satellites or space stations or shuttles out there to where we do need a Space Force.
Right.
It's the same thing with esports. It's like, it sounds so ridiculous, but like the more and more popular it gets, it's going to be more of a mainstay. It's generational too, man. I mean,
it's our generation growing up,
dude,
the millennials, the kids are growing
to
up.
To us,
now.
it's like second nature. It's like little kids, Twitch. I mean, they probably watch Twitch more than they do TV or YouTube or anything.
Same thing with the YouTube people doing. It's just funny that these older people, they're so close-minded about everything. It's like you stay up on so much stuff, but when this stuff comes up, it's like you guys are still just want to shoot it down. It's the whole thing with like legalizing pot or anything else. It's like, well, we didn't grow up with that, and that was a gateway drug and all this other stuff. And now it's coming to find out like it's not even part of Dare anymore. Like Dare got it off their fucking thing. Alcohol is the main.
The propaganda machine like ran that shit into the ground, like when it back in the was it 50s or 60s or whenever that happened.
Yeah,
like it makes niggers rape white women. It's like,
into the 70s and 80s,
it's like,
Nancy Reagan, and
yeah, fuck all that. All I'm saying is like it was a topic. It was really good. I'll send you guys the article for sure, and I'll link it in here if anyone really cares about reading it. But it was just really interesting. The guy that gives the deep dive on everything and pretty much saying like, how many people are trying to depict it with, people that are Twitch streamers? Like, that's a hard job, too. Like, can you imagine sitting in the computer for 10 hours a day, sitting there gaming at these games? Like, imagine when we play Vermintide for 2 hours and your fucking brain hurts from playing it because all the content's moving. It's like, imagine playing games like that for 12 hours a day. They deserve getting their money they make and doing all their stuff. They work hard for it.
Well, it's like, if you're going to pay some guy to dribble a ball down the court millions of dollars and, like, shoot it into a basket... Like, what's the big deal for paying this kid, a lot of money for doing what he does?
It's a hard. If everybody could do it, everybody be doing it. That's the thing. It's like everybody be at that level. They're not. That's why people want to watch them play because they're so goddamn good at it.
Well, that's why people watch pro video gamers or gamers, because it's like, I know I'm not going to be that good. I'm more interested in watching somebody that can potentially be better than what I can be, because they can pull off stuff that I can't pull off.
That's entertainment
Plus
in
it
a whole.
teaches
That's
you
why we
stuff.
That's why we go to concerts or whatever. It's like you see people performing at a professional level that you could never redo, and it's just like it's
Or you could
entertaining.
you could reach, you learn stuff from it as well. But like you're saying, it's like you're going to see the best of the best. That's why you want to watch it. You know,
Yeah,
that's pretty much it. So I mean, I know it's not the probably not a lot of people care about it that much, but I just, growing up in this day and age, I just feel like, especially now with the way Fortnite and shit is with kids and it's all ages and people, it's just going to keep getting bigger. And people that want to keep shutting it down, they're the people that are just going to get laughed out.
Well, they said the internet wasn't going to last. They said the internet was a joke, and he was going to need it besides a few companies, and it was going to phase out one day.
Yeah, exactly. So.
And then it changed the world.
Yeah, the funny thing I read too from somebody on there was like, one day you'll see esports bigger than professional sports, and I honestly believe it, because the entertainment value behind it sometimes it's more entertaining.
Well, let's be
all-
honest. Come on, curling and some of this shit. It's just like I don't see. Well, because look, and I don't know if people know this, but it's like the Olympics are constantly phasing out and phasing in sports. I believe there was a type of wrestling they phased out that created like a bunch of. Like it really pissed off a lot of like these people, because it's like, it's like that's a legitimate sport or whatever. It's just that, surprise, surprise, it wasn't getting a lot of viewership. So it's just like, it's not like the Olympics are some gold standard of whatever. It's just like they're willing to change things in and out depending on ratings too. So
Yeah.
It's always demand, supply and demand. It's always what gets eyeballs, whether it's movies, TV,
butts and seats and dollar signs.
ESPN, sports.
at the end of the
whatever it
day,
is.
don't fool yourselves. Everything's about money.
Yep.
It really is.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what comes from. So I don't really have anything else.
That's what upsets me the most about like media in general, is like the fact that a show like that I might not be able to get the full resolution on a show because it's not successful in somebody's eyes. Art should be purely for art, but I know it's not. And it's silly to think that it should be, but.
There's something I talked about the other day before I wrap up, is Joe Rogan brought up a good point about there's some type of thing he brought up. There's an art form in something that he didn't look at before. I told you about it, Sam. You remember what I was talking about? Maybe yes or no. He was talking about something he looked at a different way, when some guy was like, it's an art form the way you look at it, and not like typical people that are artists, but there's a different way of looking at stuff as an art form. Fuck, I wish I remembered.
Oh, was it graffiti? Was it about the Banksy thing?
No. God damn it. I can't remember. But anyway.
I don't know. I mean, look, there's a lot of things out there that people wouldn't consider art or skilled that truly is.
Right.
It just goes back to literally like how you grew up, what you believe, and literally, it's generational. It really
Pretty much
is.
what he was saying. If you look at certain things, certain ways that people don't look at it, it's like it's an art and a craft form for a lot of ways of people doing stuff, and people don't look at it as an art, and it's like it really is. So I think that was just pretty much his point. I can't remember what he was talking about, but that was pretty much what he was getting, the point he was getting at. So
Dollhouse furniture. Do you know how, like, I look at people that make these little fucking things, and it's just like, that would be so hard. I feel like I would fuck that up 1,000 times. And it's like these people just knock it out one and done. But at the end of the day, they're just making dollhouse furniture. So who gives a shit? But they're good at it.
It's still impressive.
It's still very impressive. Yes, that's my point.
yeah.
But yeah, one more thing. It's like, okay, so I remember being back in high school, like during the Bush administration, thinking like, oh my God, we're never going to have legal weed in our lifetime. It's like they're arresting Chong for selling, like having a bong company out in California. Fast forward to today, there's some form of weed legalized in 31 states out of 50, and it's just like on the ballot in November, just in Missouri, we have 3 different medical marijuana initiatives, like amendments. So it's just crazy how things go after time.
That's the way it goes, man. Things evolve, change. Problem is, a lot of people don't like change. That's the biggest problem. Most people don't want change to happen, and when it does, people like to restrict it and say no. Except in the technology world, everybody wants change every 6 months. So
it's kind of a shame that like the whole war on drugs and like all that was all started because of yellow journalism back in the day.
And racism.
It,
There's racism.
Like some rich fuck who owns the newspaper company says, yeah, or who knows the guy who owns the newspaper company says, yeah, print this, and then it's fact,
Because it affected.
and it's
it
been an
literally,
uphill battle ever since.
And I think the timber industry too, because it's just like it just
Hemp
like
versus paper.
yeah, hemp paper versus this traditional like paper from like wood pulp or whatever. It's just like it's way cheaper to produce because marijuana is a weed. Like it literally grows so prolifically, but it's like you got to cut down really old trees.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was all about money and protecting interests, and that just snowballed into paying lobbyists to make sure senators still vilify this certain shit and then the news were always party to like, the laced candy at, like even this one, like that one, be careful this year, parents, because people are going to be handing out marijuana edibles, and it's like, no one's going to be giving out their fucking edibles to kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's
It's
what
like,
they want
get
to.
the- you're right.
That's when they want to give out. Now, if it was legal, that might be a different, thing. If it was something that was like, let's say it just like it was cheap and you can get it for affordable prices and no one gave a shit or anything. But like what you're saying,
No, regardless, legal or not, what are you talking about? No one's going to give marijuana edibles out to kids.
well, not the kids
on Halloween.
I'm just saying like well, I guess that was a bad example. I'm just saying if it was more accessible, people wouldn't be worrying about that, that kind of shit. I would say like it wouldn't be a big deal. It's just now that people,
The stigma. It's the
Yeah.
stigma at this point.
it's just it happened one time, so now everybody's gonna be doing it.
Right. I just remember the goody-goody kids in high school scoffing, and then it's just like seeing the same kids in college who were just like ended up bigger stoners than me. It was just like,
that was-
really?
That was always my favorite.
Dude, I remember there was this girl. I think she went to our school, but she ended up she was like boyfriends with one of my cousin's friends. His name was Kyle. I forgot his last name, but her name was
No last names.
Nicole. I don't remember her last name. Yeah, good thing I don't remember anyways. But but she used to be a huge pothead too, and she smoked with us. But then like one day she turned and like didn't smoke anymore, and then she gave us so much shit for smoking, like calling us like fucking losers, and I was just like, how can you be so hypocritical? Like,
Those were my favorite people. Like Sam was saying in high school, I remember
God,
I could
The
name
flip-floppers.
I can
Oh
name
my
20
God.
people that used to give me the fucking brown stink eye like I was fucking a piece of shit, and 2 years later they're coming to hang out with me at my house getting fucking ripped
Well,
out of their
right,
mind.
no, and
we're
it was
best
just
friends.
like- it
It's
was-
like what?
It was degrading in a way. It's like you're fine with me as a human being up until the point of you just find out I smoke a little weed, and then I'm just the scum of the universe. Because it's like, and I know attitudes are changing. Because I would equate it to nowadays being like the craft beer movement. It's just like you got a billion different flavors of weed nowadays. You got a billion different flavors of beer nowadays. It's just like, so it's like what? It's just like, are you just because somebody fucking drinks one beer, does that make them a scumbag? Does that make them an alcoholic? Like, does that inherently make them a worse person overall because they choose to partake in something?
yeah, if you smoke like a little bit, does that make you like a huge stoner pothead loser?
No, it
Right.
doesn't.
Like,
No, because some of the most successful people in the world smoke weed and do some of the stuff. The most productive people in the world. So it's like you're pretty much what you're saying is something you read in a fucking book or learned when you're a kid from some biased retard.
I mean, that's pretty common too. Like the small percentage impacting the opinions of a lot of people for a group, like a larger group of people. Just like rednecks and white people.
Mm-hmm.
Or like the hood black people and normal. Just like your average everyday black people. It's
Well,
like
yeah, one group can
when
ruin it
people
for-
think of the Midwest, they
ruin it
think
for
of
everybody.
rednecks, and
Right.
they don't think of like your average normal person.
Right. Sweeping generalization.
Same thing with potheads. When you think of a pothead, you think of like this.
Hey, man.
Yeah.
I hate that. Sam brought up a good point a while ago where you're saying like, if you smoke weed, you're automatically labeled like this hippie fucking person, that long hair fucking not do-gooder person type of like burnout that like wear fucking
I wear
tie-dye
ponchos
shirts.
and Jesus sandals.
Yeah, and and you have to talk and act a certain way, like to be ate up. And it's like whoever gave that example and just made it that way. I guess it was just a mainstream.
Well, I
media.
remember that conversation I was bitching about back in, like, I just remember back in high school where it's like you had the kids who wore it on, literally on their, they like, it was their identity is like, I'm a pothead, I'm a stoner, and I want to brag about
wanna
that. I'm going to
identify
listen
and let
to,
people
yeah, I'm
know.
going to wear Bob Marley shirts and, wear dreadlocks or whatever. And it's just like, to me, it was just like, I don't
hate
know.
those.
I just never thought of it as like, it should be an identity thing. Because it's like, it's just something you do. Because it's just like, because if you equate that to alcohol, it's just like people like that are usually alcoholics. And it's just like, they don't like, yeah, they like drinking and stuff, but they don't glorify to the point like some
They got beer
stoners
shirts
do.
and like beer hats every day.
So
and-
it's just like, yeah. So I feel like those are the fucks who ruined it for everybody else
They
who
do.
just likes to like, because literally at the end of the day, it's like,
It's a
I don't care if you're if you're winding down with a glass of scotch, a beer, wine, or whatever. You pop a Xanax or whatever you do after work that chills you out. Like whatever. Everybody has a vice. Some people don't, but that's fine too. Whatever. All I'm saying is to each their own. If it's not directly impacting anybody else, why does it matter?
I think it's just a fad. When you're an immature little kid, people want to go through and they want to be identified and they think it's the cool thing to do. But when they get older, they realize it's like, I didn't need to do that and there's no point to identify this way. And most people change, and then some people don't. There's a couple of people I can name off the top of my head that went into that.
SRH.
Yeah.
Cottonmouth Kings. I still wear my SRH.
Yeah, I mean, I can name one girl on top of my head, and you guys all know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And literally identifies as I literally saw something about her the other day, and it's like she hasn't changed. Same person, hanging out, doing the same thing. You know, just a mooch, fucking piece of shit. And it's like, it's something she's never going to grow out of, right? She's going to
But-
be this immature girl, and she's 30-something years old.
I like the point you made though, because it was high school, and I think you're already having identity issues, and you're trying to latch on to something. So I'll give a little bit more leeway to that. But yeah, if you're like 30 something and you're still wearing like tie dye Bob Marley or Grateful Dead shirts or shit, and it's like really wearing that shit on your sleeves, it's like all I'm saying is it's just like whether it's weed or drinking or whatever you do, it's like there's a billion other things too to do out there. It's just like sure you can smoke weed, but you can also read a book or go kayaking or literally whatever, do whatever else.
Some people make it their life hobbies.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. Isn't that's fine for those people? I'm not, whatever. All I'm saying though is it's just like if you want to put so much emphasis on one thing, regardless of what it is, you're missing out on other things.
Well, I'm saying there's more to life than just these two things or whatever the hell you do, right?
Right. That's it. That's it. That's all. That's
I
the
mean,
point I
it's a
was
good
trying to make.
conversation piece. I'm going to say that. Like, there's plenty of people I met that I've talked about, like, hey, we did this or whatever, and we have that correlation, and you kind of, like, hit it off talking to people. I feel like people who smoke weed are more laid back and more chill, and they're easy to get along with. I'm not going to say that's not true with all people who smoke weed or whatever, but I feel like that's something they're more, I can kind of, like, have a relationship with them. It's easy, like, open type of, like, starter thing to talk to them about. But, ain't something I'm gonna go advertise out there that I want people to know my personal business. I go out and fucking.
Hey, I used to smoke weed.
Right. So, yeah, it's just I don't even know how it is in school now.
I guess and just and I'll say this and I'll just shut up about it. Is I guess I get because it's personally, it's like I spent so many years just being a pothead, and I guess I kind of regret some of that time spent being stoned out of my gourd and just sitting around. Whereas, like, I wish I would have just got up and rode a bike or, had another hobby. I guess I just feel like I missed out on certain life experiences in a way.
The problem, you could say that too, but at the same time, I was the same way, but I had a lot of fun doing it and made a lot of good relationships, and I won't go back and change anything. Now, there is times where I probably was fucking burned out of my mind. And I didn't
I'm
do
talking
anything.
about the burnout moments.
But for the most part, it's like you have your whole life still in front of you. It's not like I'm doing it the rest of my life.
Yeah.
There's a difference. Like you're 15 and 20. You're supposed to have those time to have the experience. That's the time to do that kind of stuff where you don't have responsibilities. Now, if you have responsibilities and you're still doing that, then you got some fucking other things you need to work out in your life. You know what I'm saying? Unless you're some rich fucking piece of shit, you still probably need some other hobbies in your life. But you can do whatever you want at that point because money's not an issue because everything's ran by money.
I wish I could go back to like 16, get a job, and just start putting money away.
No
Like,
shit. No
God.
shit. I mean, I've been working some in 13. I wish I would have saved more money because I bought a lot of stupid shit that I shouldn't have bought, like Abercrombie and Fitch and clothes. Spend money on dumb stuff I really didn't care about that was meaning and worthless at the time. It
Well,
was-
that you did care about them, but
yeah,
did-
I
yeah.
cared about it at the time because
I
that's
know
what
what you
girls
mean.
liked,
I know
and I
what
was
you
trying to
mean.
get pussy and shit, and that's what I cared about back then. So,
dude, the amount of dumb shit people care about in high school, like
oh God,
I could be an hour-long
you
conversation.
do a whole podcast on that.
like all the anyone popular saying something dumb to me. and
We need to have a discussion on a podcast about just 90s stuff, like growing up stuff, kind of like that movie that's coming out from Jonah Hill, the 90s or whatever. That movie looks really good. I've watched the trailer like 3 more times.
That does look pretty good.
It does.
Dude, the skater life, such a scummy life.
They make it always made it out to seem if you're a skater, you're a scummy piece of
Well,
crap.
but no, there is truly, but that's the same. It just reminds me of Lords of Dogtown. It is. It,
It
truly
really does
is.
remind
It's
me
like
of it.
because it's the kind of person that's drawn into like skating all the time.
Well,
I feel.
they're
I'm just. That's a generalization.
it's more the beach bum. I'm a surfer,
Yeah.
burnout. I smoke weed. I skateboard. I don't have any goals in life, and I just want to be like a chiller in the beach and doing stuff, which is all bullshit.
but yeah, no, it just looks so good and like gritty and real. Like I feel like I'm sure that's gonna be a great recapture of like what it would have been like to be like a skater, shithead skater in the 90s.
But hold on, this guy's a little white kid. And he's got male privilege, so he shouldn't be poor or anything like that. So this movie's wrong.
Poor whites are a myth.
Well, like even going back to what you were saying a second ago, like why does anyone care if someone wants to live their life like that? You know, if they want to be a burnout, smoke weed, and go surfing and skateboarding, and that's what they want to do
That's
with
their
their
business.
life.
That's what they wanna do.
Why do you?
That's
give
a
shit?
you know what? Right.
It's because
and I
the-
mean I can sit here and judge all day long, but
it's
it's
like you
just
only
like
have one life.
and if that's what you want to do,
Do it.
this is America.
I mean, everybody's-
as long as you're not like directly interfering with anybody else's rights, you know what? Do whatever the fuck
Everybody's
you want.
judgmental in their own way, right? And I'm not going to say I'm not judgmental in certain ways because I am, but like he was saying, it's like if that's what makes you happy and you enjoy your life, who is it else to dictate and say that I can't do this?
It's just just a quick analyst. It's like to my points I was saying. It's because that's how I felt. When I was burning out, it's because I look back on that time and it's just like I feel like some of that time could have been spent better. So it's like a personal prejudice. I guess.
I there's definitely I have those moments as well. It's like I try not to have too many regrets, and I mean,
I have
there's definitely
zero
there's-
No regrets.
There's definitely times where I think about like, yeah, I probably could have been more outgoing, more social during those years too. But it's like, we only have one life, and it's like
Did you have
like
fun?
you said, I had fun. It's like I don't fully regret any of it, but it's like
You always look back and think things you could have changed in a
Definitely.
different way.
Hindsight's 2020.
definitely
Right?
Yeah.
I think I had a blast in high school. Like, I could have had a full ride scholarship to fucking go to private school, and I probably would have played D1 hockey. Who knows if I would have went somewhere with it? But all the friends I would have missed out on, all the times I would have had, fuck that. That's more those life experiences were more important to me.
That's true because it's like once you start dealing with that, it's like who knows how your path would have changed. Once you start flirting with ideas like
Right? I could have
that.
hung out with a bunch of douchey rich kids and became one of those fucking croaky wearing fucking Jesus sandal faggots. So I don't want to be anything like that. So, what I'm saying, but
But yeah, whatever. I'll always have my opinions, but
Yeah.
you got a good point. Do whatever the fuck you want.
yeah. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't feel like there's anything wrong with
Yeah,
that.
I just feel like you only have one life, and it's like you shouldn't live your life based on what other people think about you.
No.
Well, I mean, because I would attribute to like if you're chasing happiness, obviously do what makes you happy because there's so much shit in this world nowadays that it's just like that brings you down. That it's just like you got something that makes you a little happy, then fucking go for it. Skating, smoking, whatever it is.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think it's just the problem is there's so many people that are opinionated and they think that they're right in every form. So it's like if you don't combine to like what's a social considered, I guess, status type of like way of living, then you're considered an outsider or a bum, piece of shit, whatever it is, right? And then later in life, things change, and now it's like the consensus now. Before you know it, when weed's legalized, everybody be considered it's okay. It's like smoking a cigarette.
I don't know how many times I don't know about you guys, but I don't know how many times I have the thought of like, is this it? Like, you go to work, you come home, and you rinse, repeat. Like you work so that you can have a life. And sometimes it seems like the only reason you're alive is to work,
To maintain
or to
a certain
contribute to
lifestyle.
society.
Well, I mean, I
or to
thought-
contribute to society, or
Yeah.
whatever it is. It's
But
like,
what would you do if you didn't have money in the way you do stuff? You wouldn't have all these. We have to have work, right?
Well, not necessarily. That's what I'm saying. Like, some people. Have you ever had that feeling when you are driving to work or whatever, when you're like, God, there's got to be more to life than this.
Yeah.
There's got to be more to life than just going to work every day.
I don't believe that you're born to live in a fucking desk job, going 9 to 5. Joe Rogan said it in a good way. He's like, you're meant to get out in nature, experience things, do stuff like stress-free stuff. Like you're supposed to have like this life of like enjoyment and not sit behind some fucking computer. all
Well,
day
not even
doing
just
stuff.
like a desk job, just any job. Like,
Yeah.
some people, like, they just want to be free, completely free, and not have anyone tell them what to do, and not have like any responsibilities.
Yeah.
And it's like I'm kind of jealous of that. I love technology and the internet way too much to just like
I do too.
move out in the middle of nowhere.
Well,
not-
yeah, and that's the catch-22, man. Is because it's like the things that I enjoy, cost
Outweigh
a
that.
certain amount of money, and
Well,
it's
let's
like,
get
and I
real.
need to.
Everything comes back
Because
down
if I
to-
want to be a free spirit and whatever, it's just like that's severely limiting
You
some of
lose
the
out
more
on some of that.
expensive
I mean,
hobbies.
Why do you
and-
idolize all these people that are doing stuff in the world? It's because they have money. They have money and they have the freedom to do whatever they want, right? You get to a certain point in Hollywood, whatever, you make enough money, you retire, you don't have to do anything. That's what you're working life towards. You can get to a point where you don't have to do anything, you can enjoy your life. And they say majority of your life you spend from your 20s to like your early 60s. 40 years you spent working on some shit that you don't care about. unless it's your own business and you're passionate about it. I mean, still it's work, but it might be something you're more actually, enthusiastic about. But then you got a life from 60 to 80, maybe if you're lucky, if you're a guy, with money to enjoy your life before you're fucking dead and you got a problem.
You're just enjoying shit from
and
60 to 80.
you know,
and that right there, I think that's part of the problem. Not part of the problem, but like that way of thinking, like, oh, if I just work, the better part of my years, if I just work my life away, then I can do whatever I want from 60 to 80. It's
Yeah.
like, to me, it's like there should be more. There should be more than that.
I
It's
agree.
like you should be able to do what you want during those formidable years, like doing whatever you want then.
It's just if you have money, everything makes it easier. If you have money, you can do whatever you
Yeah.
want.
Well, it used to be easier because the dollar used to have more buying power, like the 60s, 70s, and the 80s. It was like starting in the 90s and shit.
Dude,
It
I've
was
been,
just
I've been paying like $30 for a full tank of gas.
Right,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. Is it's like so.
Remember when you paid
the
$5
way-
for 5 gallons of gas? Or not even that, you can get like $5, you get like 10 gallons of gas or whatever it was. It was double when we were kids. Like 30, it was like $1 for
Oh,
fucking
dude,
gas.
I remember when it hit $1 a gallon, and it was like big news.
Just bring
Because
back-
before
just
then,
bring-
it was just like I
Just
remember.
legalize hookers and everything will be better.
rape culture, rape culture.
I know we're going down our rabbit hole, but yeah, it's just, dude, everything just sucks. Like my dad always said, it's like if you have money, everything in your life's easier. Then you don't have to worry. You wouldn't have any worries. Everything is easy when you have money. If you're growing up, you're a spoiled piece of shit. You have money. You don't realize things. You don't appreciate stuff. I mean, there's good things and bad things about
Well, you don't
everything.
understand the value of a dollar. When you don't work for that dollar, like when you don't earn that dollar, it's just a dollar. Like, oh, it's just
No, even it's not like I was spoiled, but I didn't. Before you understand that concept,
Yeah.
it's just like even I remember being a kid and just like not thinking about the value of a dollar and just being a shithead with money, because it's like it took me a long time, even like when I was working like jobs as a teenager, putting values on those dollars. I didn't think about it as like it took me an hour to earn 7 of these dollars because it's like I'd burn through that shitty paycheck in like an hour.
yeah.
Like fast food and
Even nowadays,
whatever.
I think about that. I'm like, shit. Buying this cost me an hour of my life, an hour of work.
Exactly.
Because that's the true commodity here, because you cannot get time back.
Time's most precious thing. You can't get your health back and you can't get time back. That's why people are like, oh, you can do whatever you want. It's like maybe in the future you can regrow fucking parts, stem cells, all this stuff can fix people's bodies. But right now, your health is your most important thing. One of the big things they talk about is like longevity. Like as technology and shit grows, people are going to live longer. We've already been doing it now. Like it's possible. We might live to like we're 120, 130, whatever. Ain't going to happen right now though with the epidemic of people being with diabetes and all this other bullshit.
What was the life
you know?
expectancy in the colonial times? Like 35,
35,
40
40
Right.
years old. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's
now
like
it's like
doubled
now it's
already.
like 70 for men and then like 90 or 80 for women or whatever.
Well,
Well, it's going to keep going up.
Even before, what was it? Like, seriously, I think it was vaccinations, like smallpox and shit. Like, the life expectancy, it's like you would have like 10 kids because you're planning on like
Losing 5 of them?
You're right.
God.
I know. It's crazy how times change, but it's
Yeah,
just
and wasn't the age of consent, or not the age of consent, but like didn't they have kids a lot younger too?
yeah.
Or no, yeah, they were marrying at like 13, 14 because it's just like, yeah, you were dying at 30.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez.
A lot different back then. Yeah, getting the bubonic plague or the black plague or something.
But it was only recently that Missouri law caught up with marriage like that. Because, like, seriously, I think it was legal for teenagers to marry until they just recently passed a law.
Really?
Oh, let me look into that before. I'm just talking shit now, but
Wow.
I swear to God, I just heard something about that. And it's like, yep, good old Missouri.
Yep. Yep. But it does,
Hey, at least we're not Mississippi.
God. They ranked like the lowest in every
Everything.
statistic
Did
every
you know
time.
that even in high school nowadays, you can't even go, like, get a parking pass without getting a drug test?
Really?
That's how severe crazy things are getting at schools. Like, you can't get a parking pass without taking a drug test. What the fuck does that have to do with you driving and getting a school permit? If they're trying to keep kids out of doing drugs, it's like, that's the whole thing with the weed thing. It's like, who gives a shit? Were you not a kid when you were fucking
Well, that's
16,
the thing,
you know?
and that's I don't think they understand is it's just like being a kid is about fucking up, making mistakes,
Yeah,
being
trying
rebellious.
things and
It's
learning
ju-
if you
And
like
it's just
them or
like
not.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
like they tell you not to do something, so you want to do it.
Do you
You're
know-
emboldened to do it.
They came out and study and said that with all this fucking generation of people, those, what they call them, those helicopters, parents that hover over their kids or whatever, that do everything and make sure they're like living by like the Bible or whatever. I don't know if I think that's what they're called, but You're supposed to let your kids make mistakes. It's natural. That's how they learn. How do you learn anything in your work environment? You fuck things up and you learn not to do it again. Same thing with anything in life. So like, let them make mistakes. Let them go try weed. Let them drink.
Well, because also too, look, here's the deal: is when you try to suppress something like that,
They wanna do it more.
like look, like okay, like take the drinking age here is higher than the rest of the world, and the way we approach drinking is like, oh, it's bad, it's bad, it's bad. So you grow up telling your kids it's like like don't underage drink and yada yada.
It's a
So what do?
privilege.
They drink under the table. So all I'm getting at is like okay. So in America, the college age, like they there's this attitude. They foster this binge drinking attitude because it's all under the table, whereas like in places like Europe and like even Canada and shit, it's like
16, 18.
16, 18. Not only that is it's like they were able to start drinking like like wine or cider with alcohol in it at dinner at a younger age as long as their parents were there. So what I've noticed is it's just like there's this healthier attitude towards drinking
They don't
from these
have-
countries because it's like they they didn't like the whole culture didn't raise like alcoholics through binge drinking at college.
Well, it's a
Like,
social status like
that's
anything.
a really good point.
It is
Well,
really-
especially too, because like imagine drinking with your family when you're 16. Like maybe you don't want to drink again
you're
after
like,
that.
hey, Dad, pass the beer bong.
Yeah. No, it's a social status thing. It's another thing that kids feel like they have to. You go to college, they call it the freshman 15. I'm going to go and put on 20 pounds at 15 pounds. I drink like a fucking asshole because I'm 21 and now it's time to fucking let loose and let free. But like you're saying, the culture where they grow up in Europe, it's like they don't drive a lot. They get to walk everywhere. They appreciate they get to drink, and they don't take it as something. It's like a privilege to them that they get to drink and they get to do it at an early age, so they were more responsible. Over here, it's like, woohoo! I'm gonna get fucked up and do retarded shit. I'm gonna drive drunk, kill people, and do stuff. It's like if we made that culture more acceptable like that, I don't think kids would be like that. Plus, people got to realize alcohol is probably the most addictive and worst thing for people.
That's a true gateway drug. It's the true gateway drug.
Well, it's been changed now. It is the true gateway drug for everybody.
And like we were talking about, like just like Dare, like that made me think of Dare. What you were mentioning a minute ago, like why did Dare come in my elementary school in like 3rd or 4th grade or whatever it was, or it's like why didn't they come in at like middle school,
High school?
They come into elementary school. Like I didn't even know what half those drugs were. 1, 2,
Right.
I don't think I had any access to any of those, like even weed or anything.
Dude, you're
at
worried
that
about playing
age.
with toys and video games
Yeah.
and fucking.
They're the
riding your
ones who
bike over there.
introduced the concept of drugs to begin with.
Exactly. It's like, why don't you come in during middle school when like weed's actually like available and that
Yeah.
type of stuff's
Well,
available
this
and actually
generation
know what you're talking
I
about.
mean, they shouldn't even be worrying about weed anymore. They should be worrying about kids popping prescription pills and Xanax and the shit that rappers socialize and fucking
They're bringing
idolize.
these mumble rappers are bringing lean back. The fucking cough syrup. You remember how like that whole fad died down
crunk-
like
crunk chip- like crunk
10
juice
years ago?
with the
Like,
syrup.
They're literally bringing it back, and it's just like what the fuck?
pseudo, like talking about like pseudo tripping or like
No, like codeine and promethazine.
like
syrup.
purple
like
drink.
yeah, lean,
Yeah.
drank,
God,
double cup.
Course side,
dude, and
packet
they're all
sitting
about
in my
Xan-
couch.
they're all about pills and Xanax and it's like
Remember when you used to find
Then they OD on
corn-seed
Xanax
packets
and-
in my couch and like in your pocket from Eckerd?
from Eckerd.
Sam kicked him out one night because he found them all over his fucking basement.
No, I didn't kick him out because of that. I kicked him out because he took them.
Oh.
He didn't say anything, and he started going crazy
So,
and
yeah.
doing some wild. So I'm not going to say it here, but he did some shit where it was like, dude, you got to go.
Dude, he can he.
I think you were there that night.
I might have been. I don't remember.
me and Brandon
him getting
experienced it
kicked
probably
out,
more than
but,
anybody.
Dude, he came over to Randy's house one night. He worked at Quiznos. He broke into the safe of the Quiznos he worked at. He came over with like all this money, like cash that came from the safe, and then he also had all this like bags of
Deli meat and shit.
from Quiznos. He's like, yeah, we can make our own sandwiches
What's
and cook
this?
on meat now.
Deli meats.
Yeah, I told him to get that shit the fuck out of my house. But anyway,
I would have made a
Dude,
fat sandwich.
It's like they have cameras, like, and you're the one who closed. Like, who do you think prime suspect is? Like,
Right.
well,
I don't remember ever. I don't
So what
remember
actually
hearing
really
what
happened
with
was
that, but-
before like we wrap this up is he worked at Quiznos. He on his night off he closed. He came back like 8 hours later when it was the middle of the night. He knew where the camera.
Don't say anything that's gonna put you in trouble.
He's
You're
dead.
an accessory,
He's-
Randy.
He's deceased. So what are they gonna do? Dig him in his grave and fucking put some cuffs on him?
Oh God.
I wasn't an accessory. I didn't do it.
You were an accessory.
Yeah. Anyway, long story short, he broke in there. He knew what to do, and he brought it up my house, and I kicked his ass out and said, "Get away from me, and don't bring any of this shit to
Look,
my house."
receiving stolen property.
What is that? Aiding and abetting a fugitive? Is that what it's called?
I did that before with Dimitri.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
when he I don't know, yeah, he's on house arrest and he broke house arrest, so there was like they were actively searching for him, and I let him stay at my house a few
I
days.
forgot about that kid.
And he went garage hopping.
Idiot.
Well, I told him to.
Wow.
That's what he had to do to stay.
Stay in the garage.
He had to stay at my house.
Blackmail. Go get me some beer.
I remember. I don't know. He got me this nice cooler that had like it was like he said he got it from somebody's backyard. It was like a big one. And this still had some beers in it and shit. And I forgot what happened to that cooler. I think I brought it somewhere and left it because it was such a nice cooler. I regret not keeping that.
I'm sure you do.
But no, just he ended up getting. Remember, I don't know if you guys remember. Just in that story, he ended up getting tackled by police when they finally found him, and he
I
had
do
like
remember
an
it.
ounce of weed and like some acid.
I do
and shit
remember
on
hearing
him,
that.
and-
I remember Todd Tarrant.
because
telling
he,
me.
he like I think he threw punches at the cop because he ended up getting like 5 years in jail.
Yeah.
Fucking idiot.
People are, dude. The shit you did back in high school, that's another thing. It's like those experiences, you learn from that stuff, and you're like, I don't ever fucking want to do that again. Or you see people do stuff, it's like, it's a good reminder of why people need to go through that kind of stuff, and you can't
But-
withhold them from, that kind of stuff.
I think we all hung out with people that were kind of fringe in certain ways. It's like I don't think a lot of other people had like the same experiences
I'll be honest.
we had growing up.
Do you even
We
think,
knew some shit.
do you even think this even happens in high
There's
school
some
nowadays
crazy
with
people.
the amount
Yeah.
of the amount
Yeah.
of shit that goes on in high school nowadays, or back in our high school? Do you think this stuff really happens anymore? Like, do you think it's more of like they don't have that many people that do this kind of stuff, or do you think it's more severe? Like, or is it the same? Like, I don't know.
Great question. I don't know, and I don't even know anybody of high school age to even like
I
pick
know, I
their
was just-
brain.
I was
So
gonna
it's
say, I
like
don't
I
know.
honestly don't know. If I was to guess, I would think. Look at it generationally. It's like things have been tightening down, but you still always had like still like 60s, 70s, 80s. There's always people partying, 90s, even in our age. But I do think that it gets harder and harder because they crack down harder and harder as the years go on.
Right. That's what I was wondering. Do you think high schools? I mean, I'm not saying they don't party. I'm saying inside the high school environment. Do you think it's more now like people are worried about shit because of,
Well, because look at
because of repercussions of what can happen?
Well, look, yeah, because it's like if they're drug testing kids for parking spots, then yes, I would argue that probably there are. It's probably less of the shenanigans that we experienced in school.
I remember seeing those changes when I was in school.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure when I was a freshman, is either freshman or sophomore in high school, they just it must have been freshman because I don't remember ever experiencing this. They just added in a policy where instead of taking attendance just at the beginning of the day and then not again for the rest of the day, they did it every hour.
Yeah,
To make sure that you were there for the rest of the day, because they were having issues where kids would check in at the beginning of the day and just fuck off and go do whatever they wanted.
Mhm.
I do remember
And that just changed right when I got into high school, because I remember being like, "Fuck." Like
You wanna skip out?
I could have gone and fucked off.
I
and
remember
done
hearing
something.
stories from my sister.
Yeah, I was just like, man. But
Yeah.
that was just one example.
I remember
of seeing
I
those
was on
changes.
work release, and I would leave every day after like third or fourth period. And 2 times the fucking cop that worked there followed me to like where I was going, like the gas station and work, and I had to go talk to the police officer. And it's like, how many times are we gonna have this conversation? It's like, I'm on work release.
Wow.
I leave school. It's like, if this retard's gonna follow me to the gas station before I go to work, it's like, have fun, because it's like, I'm like, it's documented. I'm on work release. I'm like, I only go to school for 3 or 4 hours a day. I leave after this
Was it
period.
the same security guy?
Hey, I did it twice, thinking I was skipping school because he was just dumb. It's like, I asked him, I was like, does this guy get high or something at school? It's like, I'm like, he knows me. I walk out and leave every day. He's like, well, you left on the side road. I'm like, yeah, it's because I had someone come pick me up. I don't fucking have a car. I drive to school every day. It's like, I share a car with my parents or whatever was going on. It's like, it was just one of those things. It was just fucked up. So I can't imagine what it's like nowadays when kids are in school. Like, gotta have a pass, gotta beep, gotta check in. They got some fucking type of like beacon on your car when you get in. You got your parking spot assigned to you, probably, if they know if you're there or not. I don't know. I'm just saying that's the way schools are.
They have
probably go.
GPS tracking butt plugs.
Yeah, butt plugs. So I think it's gonna wrap it up, man. I don't got anything else to talk about on the podcast today. Do you guys have anything else you want to ramble on about?
No, I've rambled long enough.
Yeah, this is real rambly. What are we at? Damn.
This is
Yeah.
This is a long podcast.
Just click end now.
And now. So thanks for listening,
See you
guys.
guys.
I don't know next time we're gonna do another podcast, but when we do, we'll let you know. So
Until then, go fuck yourselves.
see ya.